right. What is good? How's it going, Zephyr? Good to see you. Can you hear me? Just had an OBS update. Yep, we watching Kermit the Peterson today. On some more news, but first I'm going to run some funny stuff, because we can do that. What are my quests for the day? Yeah, we play Chocobo. That's what we do for now. Nice and easy. We play the Chocobo. Good, you can hear it. Alright, so. Bruh. Fister, what's good with you? So there's this kickboxer that was also a boxer to begin with that has been fighting with mostly kicks.
Anticipated fight of the year. Forget about Jake Paul, YouTube boxing, nobody cares. Mona Kimura, that's where it's at.
This
the real
chick
life
has
Chun-Li.
been
I covered her
amazing.
2 weeks ago. As a quick recap, she only uses her legs. Almost. She uses her kick as a jab, but she's a trained boxer too.
She's
Trained
pretty
boxing her
dope.
whole life. Trained karate her whole life. She's feet. Great. And she completely annihilated her first 2 opponents. And I said at the end of that video, her next fight is coming June 27th. That fight happened, and I was looking forward to it so much. And I was scared, bro, because I thought, one trick pony, it's possible. Now that we know what she fights like, maybe it's easy to counter.
She was mostly just fighting with kicks to begin with, and
we'll see.
people weren't expecting her to actually like box through a fight.
Before this fight, I checked out all of her stories. She looked ready, dude. Training her boxing. I bet even she was nervous
hand.
if the person is coming in with a
Hand
special
is
plan to counter
trash.
her kicks. We have the pre-fight press conference. We have the face-off. We have the fight.
We're gonna
We have
make it
post-fight
happen.
interview. We got it all. There she is.
木村選手51.9キロ軽量クリアです
Is that a gang sign? Oh shit. Oh shit. Oh fuck. She's wearing a bell. Yeah, what? Some people also said that they're giving her inexperienced fighters. That is not the case with her. She has 43
Bruce
fights.
Lee was
To be fair,
reincarnated as
27
a
losses,
woman.
but she has 12 wins. That is 10 more than Mona, alright? So stop taking achievements away from her. What is that? What does that mean?
フェイストゥフェイスの撮影になります
Face to face. Oh,
ありがとうございました
And got much, much slower.
プレリミナリーファイト
If you look into her eyes, you see Mona dead.
先ほど軽量でこう向き合ってみてどんな印象を受けたのか、お願いします。
めっちゃ
We'll get into that when we get to Jordan Peterson.
What do you call that backhanded compliment? Look at her. Talk that sass, girl.
Destroy the child.
やけす。
キャラはなんかちょっと負けちゃったんじゃないかなって思ったぐらいなんか
She's
多かったんでいいと思いました
She can't hold it together. She's laughing too much. She's
I'm
gonna make you
losing this
pay
game.
for this. Don't laugh.
続きまして小沢選手お願いします
all there is to it.
モナワールド全開だと思いました。
I feel like there's so much
Why is she
subtext here
laughing
that only
at her?
Japanese people will understand. There's a lot of disrespect and shade being
This is
thrown,
her
right?
third
サイドキ
fight.
ックを防ぐ自信は 100% ありますか
No one thought she
やって
could
きた
do
こ
it.
とをやるのみです。はい。
This is she's confident.
Yeah,
防
this
が
is
れ
a
ること
loss.
ないん
He's
じゃな
a
いか
big
なって
fat
思ってる
out.
んでその対策してきたとか結構言ってるけどあんまり気にしてないですね
Oh shit, shit. She's basically saying you can't block this. I've been doing this since I'm a kid. You can't block
I'm
this.
getting
明
countered.
日
I
は
can feel
5
it.
ヶ月ぶりのリングでもうこの5ヶ月結構変えたことも進化したこともあるのでそれを見てほしいし1戦目はボクシング2戦目は空手見せれたかなと思ってるんで3戦目はちょっ
Before
と
we
キッ
get
クボクサー
to
の木村モナを
The verbal
見てほしいの
pugilism, we
で
get to
そこ
see
注
some
目
other
して明
pugilism.
日は応援よろしくお願いします
Okay, no further ado, guys. Let's watch the fight. Let's
Yep, I
watch
knew
the
I was getting countered.
We're not gonna watch the whole thing, just the highlights.
All there is to it.
More,
I'm gonna go ahead and concede this one because
And look at
I'm
her.
just gonna
Dead
get
inside, man. God,
annihilated
she's
by a
scary. Yeah, that's
tiny
right. I'm gonna pause the video.
black
If you wanna watch
mage.
Uninterrupted, check out yourself, man.
for no reason.
Oh, I'm nervous. Here we go.
クラッシュ女子フライ級の一戦が始まりました。
What is that stance? Is that a thing?
It's please not in the face. That's what it
What
is.
am I getting? Body shot that
Guard
hurt
your
and
body.
push kick again. Somebody counter her. I don't want that, but. Ooh, Mona going.
Oh, oh,
どの辺が具体的にいいですか。
and a two-piece.
Low kick, low kick. Why is she not kicking? She wants to box. She wants to prove her boxing too. She's playing
Alright,
Elden
this is
Ring,
a
but she
better
chose Wretch.
ガードです。
Ooh, body shot.
展開どういうふうに見てますか。やるという木村。やり
She wasn't
She's
ready.
widening her game. No more only push. She's now doing the what do you call that? Roundhouse.
えるので自分としてはもう来てもらった方がいいって話もしてましたよ。
How many more hits to the face? But this girl is gonna get knocked out if it continues like this. I didn't
She
expect this.
needs some milk.
画面付近浦部さん、浦部さんここまで展開どう
Oh,
見てます
oh, oh, oh. She's bleeding. She's bleeding. This woman is just going forward. Do something.
か？
Stop.
Oh, my interface has changed. It's a little
did you
harder
see
to
that?
check
I could be
Discord
way
until
reading
I
into
get
this,
used
but
to it. So
look
if
at Mona.
anybody wants in,
I'm building a
Say
parasocial
what's up.
relationship. She's like looking at the ref like, bro, can you stop this? Is she okay? I'm winning. Just stop.
Make it
Because she's
stop.
good, you know? She's a good girl.
最初の策としては悪くなくて面白い
Stop it.
パンチを出してきます。
ooh,
クリンチぐらい接近する
Hey, 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 hey.
she's gonna win by bleeding on her.
Cringe. He called her cringe.
クリンチぐらいかなりこう接近して
Oh my god, she's coming at her like an injured gazelle. Strep up. She's grabbing. Is that allowed? I don't know if Mona is also allowed to put her head down like that. Right? Because no hits
This
to
calls
the,
for suplex.
mush, nothing underneath here, yeah? I can't fight you like this, right? So I don't know what's allowed here. And when somebody has their ass on the ground or one knee on the ground, can you still hit them? But you tell me, I'm not the expert. She even
As far as
clocked
I
her once
know,
there. Yeah,
the
the
ref
dude is
should have
right.
stepped in there.
Cringe.
蹴りの距離潰しますね僕だったら
So there goes the
It's
first
like
round.
87
Is she still
degrees in
chilling
my
her
room right
corner like
now.
in the second fight?
ディフェンスは相手の横蹴りへの
Ooh,
マンツーマンを指導
face
したので
blast.
その通り
I think that's when she caught her. She looks chill. Oh, oh, oh. Saw this, saw this, saw this.
まあ、そうですね。とにかくとにかく
Ready for round two. Oh!
Like fighters
Is that
wearing
her blood
bows in
on
their
her
hair.
arm? She looks like a monster when she's in the ring.
思われますが
This.
Ooh, that right straight was gorgeous.
I would have gone KO. Easy. No problem for me at all. Yeah. Oh, oh.
dirty.
You see how fast that goes? Can we stop?
しなくて体重乗せるのうまいんですよね拳の先端に体重乗せるのうまいんで
Oh, she did it! Hoppa!
パンチ蹴りもそうですけどチェック入り
A referee just paused the fight. Too much bleeding.
あのパンチ
非常にですね
ストップ入るかもしれない
Right? So when it's
Why
a
is the ref
foot
looking at
instead of
Mona
a
like an angry
fist,
parent? End this, end this.
そしてお
this
尻太
woman
もも
is
が強化さ
gonna
れ
go
て
out
She
from
take no
loss of
prisoners.
blood.
I cannot show you, but now she has a cut above her eye and underneath her eye. She's bleeding out of both. Bro, there's no point in continuing.
抜群に力強さが、はい。
So here's what we're gonna do. Let's see what this
このね
works.、We're gonna make Tifa grow.
She looks like
And
before
then
the
we're gonna
fight.
make Tifa grow.
What's going on? She wants to continue?
And then we're gonna make
Oh, please
Tifa
no.
grow again.
No.
The kicks
Stop.
are absolutely
But what a
necessary. You
champion
watch
this
your
woman
mouth.
is. Huge respect to anyone who goes out there and fights. Absolute
And we swing
warrior.
the Tifa.
今度はボディ付き
They block the Tifa, but it does not matter. There are 3 life.
Stop. Yeah, stop. Okay. Oh.
止めましたここで
Look at the
my
blood on
God,
her.
bro. Damn, that was brutal. Sometimes I think with boxing matches that they stop it too early. I know this is kickboxing, but this was it was hard to watch. When they're so outclassed, it's hard to watch. Third W in a row for Mona Kimura. Show respect. Unfortunately, if you check
right?
out the comments, some people are not happy with this matchup. Usually I'm impressed by the way player keeps moving forward despite being hit, but in this match I felt sorry for her. It's dangerous if they don't think about the matchmaking a bit more. Isn't the management underestimating Kimura's achievement of being the All Japan champion in amateur boxing? This match was purely to give Kimura the spotlight. Why did they arrange this match? This might actually dampen Kimura's
And they
popularity.
quit.
What do you guys think about
Final
that?
Fantasy
Honestly,
VII for
I'm
the
not
win.
a fan of this. This was Mona's third professional fight. So many people,
Third fight.
including some
I
of
think
you,
she
thought
did
that she's super
amazingly,
easy to
and
beat.
she
Well, then,
integrated a lot
you know,
more
do
boxing
it.
this time
And now
around.
she won by mostly using her fist, which people thought she sucked
It was
at,
just
and
2
somehow she did
pieces for
something wrong
days.
again. And if it went the other way and Mona got destroyed, I
No
guarantee
biscuit, no
you everyone
gravy,
would
just
say,
2
oh, how can
pieces.
you match her with such an experienced fighter with over 40 bouts? She's an up-and-comer. Cut her some slack. It seems
So, to something funnier. Charleston White, for some reason, don't ask me why, fought an island boy. I don't know which one because they're both pretty much the same to me. There's either Fly Soldier or whatever.
Go take a point away. Oh, look at me smiling.
But apparently, they managed to get a fight.
Why do you think the island twins?
Kodiak Red. Okay, so it's not Fly Soldier. It's Kodiak Red.
got the party bottles on me.
Fighting against Charleston White.
I can't believe this is finally
Both of
happening.
them put together weigh 150
if they do
pounds.
don't fake him out and then punch him
Why he didn't bring his twin with him? How come his twin ain't in his corner?
He didn't want to come. Yo!
Now, this dude is probably like 27, 28 years old versus a 40-year-old man.
Let's go.
Nobody's in a fucking chat. Final predictions.
Damn, I wish I could stand up for this motherfucker here, bro.
No, we can't. Come on, fuck it.
Can we?
It's like
Aiden
crouch.
Ross,
Yep.
you are a savage.
Come on, come on.
Wait.
What? Oh.
Why you do this?
Come on, come on.
I'm trying to tire him out.
Get to him,
Come on.
This is sad work right here.
Loosen up,
He's a 48-year-old man.
Yeah, Charleston, what, is 48 years old.
Uncle Dog, you playing?
He is 12 years from Social Security.
I'm doing UFC out that motherfucker.
What the fuck? This animosity.
And he is laughing at him.
Let's go.
Throwing a right straight out and just leaving it there.
I'm about to fall over.
No, he good.
Oh, he getting out the way. Oh, he loaded up. Oh, loading up the haymakers.
Uh-huh.
Couple body shots.
I'm trying to get a cheap one.
Oh, you saw that?
Get a cheap
He
one.
was finna try to throw a sneaky uppercut.
He's old school. Come on.
I'm trying to wrestle in this
Old
ring.
school. Stay in there,
Oh, I'm throwing him straight. Oh.
Well, Charleston doesn't need our Social Security money, but
You see, he ain't even move. He just stood there.
I don't know, depending on how things go.
Let's go,
I'm getting boxed up by a cactuar. Okay.
Straight down his neck.
Straight down the pipe.
Come on.
I'm having fun in it. Oh.
Unc's nice with it. He's just a little old.
He's not moving.
He don't need to.
Like, hey, bro, just come to me, bro. I'm just gonna rest. Look at him. I'm gonna chill.
Just catching his breath real quick.
Come on.
This is sad.
Ooh.
He got stunned.
Come here.
This is pathetic.
You got, 50 seconds,
50 seconds.
50 seconds,
50 seconds.
50 seconds,
Look at this.
Really happening.
I can't believe this shit either, man. I got to stand up too now.
This should not be happening. Both of them have the muscle tone of newborn babies. Rock 'em, sock 'em.
Let him fly, Unc. Let him fly.
He said, let him fly, Unc ain't got too many to fly, bro.
About to catch another one from the cactuar quick.
20 seconds.
20 seconds, Unc. Let him fly. Win the round.
Win the round, Unc.
10 seconds.
Let's go, Unc. Win the
How many
round.
rounds
10
do you think this
seconds.
is going to go? It looks like they're already gassing out.
Nope.
Right?
So who won round one?
Wow, that was a close one. That's a close one.
Couldn't have put it better myself, dude. Poor matchstick stuck in a
Chad, who won
potato.
that one? I don't know who won that one.
I think 1-0 Unc.
And that's still being generous.
Yeah.
Chad, who won? Charleston won?
Unc punches were very noticeable. This fight is so
Charleston needs some
funny.
oxygen. He needs to.
Hey. Oh, boy.
If I got fired on by a 40-plus-year-old in my 20s, ain't no way.
That was a close one.
All dignity down the toilet.
Let's fucking go.
Hey, Unc is gas.
Charleston
He's
is
really gas.
cheesing.
No way.
Yeah, it's really bad. He's trying to hide it, but I can see it.
He's gas.
He's gas bad.
They're both gassed.
No.
Yeah. They're smoking blunts and shit.
I know. And he just went drinking last night.
He went drinking last night?
Yes.
Why?
I don't know.
Get in there, Unc.
And he has
Come
one
on.
eye.
He does have one eye, which is surprising.
Yeah, Charleston White also has one glass eye.
I think
In 10 rounds, I bet this makes it like
you can't see
3
some
tops.
punches, like wide punches. So the Island Boy, he's not that
I
smart. He should
mean,
be throwing a lot of
considering the
punches.
Island Boy's primary love interest is his brother,
He knocked him. You knocked him off.
he judo flipped him. What is this? Charleston catching his breath. All right, let's go. Weave.
Okay.
Oh! Oh my
He
goodness.
about to knee him. Don't knee him.
Oh, do not get DQ'd. Oh. Hold him for about 15 seconds.
This is pathetic.
He was ready to knee him.
I think the ref could fight better than both of them.
Hey, you winning, bro. On time, boy.
He tired.
On time, boy. Let's go, come on.
I definitely missed the joke. Okay.
Oh.
And you got to spell it out like that. I have no creatures.
Take your time, Monk. Nothing. I'm worried that his eye will pop out. Is that possible?
It could. I don't know what type of eye he got in there.
Straight up fighting an old man with a glass eye and still can't seem to hit him properly.
This is where age comes in.
Yeah, age come in.
I hate that.
Yeah.
See, I don't see why the island boy ain't taking advantage of that.
What, like his eye or the age?
Both.
Hey, I ain't gonna lie. Unk's strong.
Yeah, I'm getting tired. Yeah. You know, there's gonna.
Oh, he purposely threw it out.
Oh yeah.
You're okay, Unc? It's okay. 1 minute.
At this point, I take my eyeball out.
It kind of seems like it, but the dude also hits like
You got this, Unc.
his hands are made of feather pillows.
It's surprising, bro.
So I don't think Charleston cares.
I know he is, and he's 48 years old. Uh-oh. I don't like that.
I don't know why this even happened. And even drunk, you would still be fighting better than these two. Oh! Yeah.
30 seconds.
I cannot get a creature. I concede.
He's giving up. He's giving up.
Because this is what the people want.
Ain't no timeout.
He's giving up.
Yeah, that's true. He lost to a 48-year-old man. He tapped out.
Ain't no timeout. Ain't no timeout.
Ain't no timeout in boxing.
He quit. He quit.
He quit. That is sad work right there. He should probably never show his face again or cover it in more tattoos. That is sad work right there. Is there anything afterward? Nope, that's the end of it. Getting a hug from Aiden Ross real quick. Collect that bag. All right, straight to some more news now.
Holy
I feel bad
barking
watching
Christ.
that.
We're gonna have to
I
talk about that
apologize,
Jordan
everyone.
Peterson surrounded video, aren't we? Great. That's just great. And on my beard day, no less. That's my beard's birthday. I don't actually know the exact date, so I just picked one. I'm talking about my
That
literal
was
beard, by the way.
pathetic.
Not a woman I pretend is my spouse to cover my sexuality. Although it is her birthday today as well. Also, hi! Hi, everyone. I'm not mad at you. This is something we're experiencing together. No one wants to do this. Let's just get through it. So here's some news. Jordan Peterson went on Surrounded to debate 20 atheists about presumably religion. That's the thing you've probably seen clips of,
I mean, we
where they take
absolutely
one
are. But
blank
Jack
and have
did
them
it.
debate 20
I'm not
blanks,
doing it.
and nothing actually
So I'm
was
watching other
accomplished
people
besides
do
the
it.
creation of a fresh set of viral dunk-on clips for people to pass around the internet like evil pogs. Often, no one can decide who owned who, even when watching the same clip.
It hasn't
because
stopped
these
being
kinds
bad
of videos
yet.
aren't designed to
People are
change
still
minds so
cooking
much
them.
as profit off of divisiveness, as well as churn out fodder for YouTube freaks to make annoying reaction videos in the endless cycle of hollow online content that ultimately just distracts us from the real injustices in the world until we die. So, Cody reacts. Jordan Peterson on Surrounded. Delicious Ouroboros tale. In fairness to Cody, this video isn't
I
just
don't
going to
wanna.
be talking about the Surrounded video, so much as using it to talk about a bunch of stuff and things and crap. One
Candace
such
Owens
crap
just makes
being
me
the
unhappy.
uselessness of the Surrounded format
At
itself.
least Peterson's funny,
After all,
stupid.
probably the first thing you know about this video, assuming you knew about it at all, was that they changed the
just wiped
title
my board.
from Christian versus 20 atheists to Jordan Peterson versus 20 atheists, right after this clip went viral. viral.
You're a Christian.
You say that. I haven't claimed that.
Oh, what is this? Is this Christians versus atheists?
I don't know.
You don't know where you are right now.
Don't be a smartass.
I was under the impression I was invited to talk to a Christian. Am I not talking to a Christian?
No, you were invited to.
I think everyone should look at the title of the YouTube channel. You're probably in the wrong YouTube video.
To be fair and balanced, he is being a bit of a smartass, isn't he? But that clip really does set the tone for the entire
That dude
uselessness
picked Jordan
of the
apart,
video
but he was
and
also
of
way
Jordan
too
Peterson himself.
up
They
his
had
own
to
ass to
change
make
the
it worth it.
premise of their video because he wouldn't participate in the way seemingly everyone else agreed to. Also, for some reason, they kept the thumbnail image of Peterson smiling, which will become funnier and funnier as we show more and more clips of Peterson's face as he talks. But they definitely had to change the title because while a video where a Christian who believes in the Bible debates atheists has a clear intent, this video doesn't anymore. It's just 20 atheists versus some guy with some vague thoughts about religion and stories and stuff.
Yeah, that's pretty
There's
much
no
it.
clear opposing positions,
That
and
kinda
it
nails it.
immediately makes the entire thing pointless. Don't watch it. I wish I didn't. This change of title also immediately moves the goalposts for Jordan Peterson. These people presumably sat down thinking they were going to debate a Christian about the specifics of Christian teachings. But Peterson has now presented himself as a sort of amorphous fog where he can choose which parts of Christianity he chooses to defend and which ones he can sort of brush off.
Well, I can't explain the rapture to you because that isn't something I concern myself with, and that's more of a sectarian belief than something that's central to Christianity.
Yeah,
now, there's all
Peterson
sorts of evangelical Protestants who might disagree.
basically
with that,
wanted to
that doesn't have
try
anything
to
do with
argue
me.
for cultural
He does
Christianity
this several times
while not
throughout.
admitting any
Someone
sort
will
of
say,
religious
well, what about the Christian belief in
leanings
blank? And he'll just say, well, that
and
doesn't
trying to say the
interest him.
stories actually
At the same
mean
time,
something.
he'll constantly cite specific parts of the Bible that do interest him to make a point, such as one story that
And get
depicts
them wrong.
God as unknowable.
God puts him between two cliffs, so he can just see a crack of what's in front of him. And when God walks by, he allows him to see his back. Okay, so the implication of that story is that the divine is fundamentally unknowable. It's a pinnacle experience. The God that's defined in that manner, right, is not a simple personification. It's not a simple old man in the sky. It's something that in its essence is unknowable and overwhelming. And that isn't, in my experience, the God that's defined by atheists who are attempting to undermine the story.
Sure. But then he'll
What does that
later
even
know that he
mean?
doesn't really know which stories are metaphors or truth or what.
I don't wanna.
know. I don't know the answer to the questions that you're asking. You know, it's the case that forever, when people have been interpreting religious stories, they
I'm gonna need
wrestled
donations
with
for that.
exactly the question that you just described. When is it fact? When is it poetry? When is it music? When is it metaphor? When is it ritual? When is it time-bound?
Nope, you type what you're going to type. I'll see it in a minute.
Look what I can do. If you cannot tell us, again, if these historical events happened or not, that can be deciding factor in if someone is like damned to hell for eternity, or if they go to heaven, right? So that's why
I don't concern myself so much with that.
And thank you for the
particular
bits.
question. You know, like that would be something that would stem more from an evangelical viewpoint, and I'm not putting that down, by the way.
You see what I mean? It's all just metaphors and poetry that he's also going to cite in specific instances as.
Oh, it's Cody. We're watching the showdy. I don't know who he was up against, but like, blink and you miss it. But seriously, the way Peterson argues for this is like, you're saying that Christians or atheists are trying to say they don't believe in something they don't understand, while at the same time saying it's unknowable. What is the point then? And then utilizing stories at your own will without any consensus on what the story means and constantly getting it wrong was another fun part of it. But yeah, I could just, let you see my shoulder through a crack in a mountain and that would be all you get.
As being true, and then in other instances we'll say, well, I don't know anything about that. You'll have to ask someone else, which makes it fundamentally impossible for his beliefs to be clearly defined. So the whole video feels like one big circular ramble, like listening to people on cocaine talk about music. He also, fittingly, says this at one point.
So God says that you can own people as property. He says that you can beat them with a rod too.
Hey, my favorite
He commands
argument.
genocide in Deuteronomy, in Numbers, and in Samuel. I mean, they have
I
a
think he cooked
goddamn
himself on
baby
this one.
barbecue in Numbers. Like, is all of this in line with Christian ethics?
Well, here's the thing. In this showing from Peterson, his usual line of attack doesn't really work because he usually says something bombastic, says something like, makes a claim that's like way out of pocket. And then as you argue with him about it, he slowly uses definitions and obfuscations to kind of walk back his claim, to be like, oh, well, you just didn't understand what I was saying to you. And it makes it all good. But when in this format, when everybody's sitting here picking apart his shit, that technique doesn't work. And then he just has to start getting mad at the people that he's arguing against. And it just did not work out for him. I think probably the last person he spoke to, because it was them making the claim, was the better end of his showing. And it still wasn't pretty for him.
Ethics?
No, the biblical library is a continuing story, and everything written in it has to be contextualized by the entire text. There's 65,000
I'm wondering how
hyperlinks
much
in the
they paid
biblical
him.
text. And you can take pieces of it out of context and criticize them, and that's what you're doing.
Very true.
So the hyperlinks he's talking about are the contradictions. Like there's a hyperlink of contradictions in the Bible. And he's basically saying, well, just looking at the contradictions is, you know, making you lose the point of what the whole book is there for. If the Bible's contradicting itself, we should just look at it as a piece of fiction. But again, Peterson doing the Peterson thing.
People can just cherry pick parts of the Bible. Can't they, Jordan? We're not here to talk about the damn Bible, by the way. This is about the very unprecise way Jordan Peterson speaks and debates, despite precision in speech being one of his rules for life, which becomes very evident
that's just a
when he's
means
talking
of
about such a malleable subject
running
as
away from
religion.
your own arguments.
The Bible is already the subject of so many interpretations that a conversation about it can easily be unproductive, let alone one with Jordan Peterson, which once again is why this surrounded video kind of sucks. Ultimately, the only thing it does highlight,
I mean,
and
for
what's
a lot
quite
of people, it was amazing
is the
watching him get
sloppy way
wrecked.
Jordan Peterson uses words themselves. Much like the Bible can be sometimes literal or sometimes a metaphor, so too does Jordan Peterson constantly change the rules for the conversation he is having. And you can see this in each of the claims he makes in the video.
Atheists reject God, but they don't understand what they're rejecting.
If you know Jordan Peterson,
How can you understand what you're rejecting if it is ultimately unknowable? he isn't, like, literally he's wrecking himself, and he thought he could semanticize that argument into something usable. Fails
Peterson,
miserably.
you probably know how this goes, because the obvious question you need to ask him there is, what do you mean by God? And Peterson opts for the very vague and very
What do you
broad
mean by
God
what do you
is
mean? What do you mean
unknowable
by
path,
God?
as he described in that earlier clip we showed.
The God that's defined in that manner, right, is not
What's
a
up,
simple
What
personification.
up?
It's not a simple
Hang on,
old
let me-
man in the sky. It's something that, in its essence, is
Lord, the
unknowable
volume
and
of the stream.
overwhelming. And that isn't, in my experience,
super
the
loud.
God
No,
that's
it's my
defined by
headset.
atheists
That's
who are
gotta be
attempting
it.
to undermine the story.
This becomes immediately frustrating, because what he's now
Immediately
saying is
frustrating.
that since
Oh, I'm about
God
to
is
die.
described as the unknowable, anyone who believes that there
I
are
wish there was a
unknowable
way so you could
aspects of the
stream it on
world
Discord and
automatically
Twitch at the same
believes
time.
in
Alexa,
God.
play What Do You
And
Mean?
people instantly start calling him out on this.
It seems like, yes, if you
I'm just
define
gonna go ahead
religion
and
to
take
mean
this out.
anybody that has an aim, anybody that looks at the unknown, anybody who wants to
Hello,
go
testing.
from chaos
Can
to
you-
order
can you actually
is
hear me?
inherently religious,
Yeah, I hear
then
you. Okay.
yes, but also in the same
For some
way,
reason,
I
my
would
thing
define
wasn't lighting
atheist
up
as somebody
a
who
couple
doesn't
seconds ago.
dogmatically
you're
believe in
good.
a religion, or somebody
Loud
who
and
doesn't
clear.
regularly attend religious services or
So
belongs
that
to a
literally
denomination.
means
And what
you
follows is
were
basically that. A
running
group of
last
frustrated
week.
people arguing about the definition
No,
of words
it's
instead
the
of
same thing
subject
was happening
itself,
last
to the
week,
point that some very
but
patient
for some reason my
atheists-
voice wasn't going through. It was probably because I was trying to connect to my PlayStation.
Sony ruining it for everyone again.
hmm
Yeah, so Jordan Peterson getting wrecked. How do you feel about it?
Okay. I used to be able to give a little bit more credence to Jordan Peterson. Like I personally, like I won't call myself an atheist, even though I will never sort of defend my version of religion or spirituality in front of anyone, because to me it's like extremely personal. For me, organized religion is just um like anti morality, basically, like as far as you can get. I think like once you have like some basis laid down, then yeah, organized religion can lead you to do like horrible things. So I think it's best to have a more sort of personal spirituality and whatnot. But I'm not going to lecture anyone about their own personal beliefs, religion, atheism, whatever the fuck, right?
Yeah.
But after watching this video, I realized that what Jordan Peterson was like, I would lay down to just, oh, he's just not able to get his arguments across. No, he's actually just retarded.
I think
like
he's testing his new way of trying to utilize an ideology without utilizing an ideology, and he's failing miserably at it.
And you know what the biggest problem is? If Jordan Peterson were to basically, instead of defending Christianity, was only to defend his own personal definition of Christianity, he might have an argument. But even then he says, what do you mean by God? Like he, for some reason, he wants to force like Rubik's Cube, transform that shit, put it in a box and fit it into his version of religion.
Exactly. And yes,
yeah,
you
it's like,
is woefully vague.
If he only decides to kind of have his own version of religion and historic events or whatnot, like his own spirituality, maybe there is something he can discuss and debate. But for some reason he wants to like what's the like a meme word for trying to Gundam it? Like no, what's that Power Rangers combined thing?
Oh, he's trying to Megazord like together some sort of ideology
for Christianity for some reason, and I don't get it. Like with Christianity, you're essentially tagging yourself with so much just bullshit that's in the Bible. Like, why do you need to do that? Like,
well, I think
if you're picking and choosing, might as well pick and choose like what you want. Like, create your own version of religion, right? Like, why do you want to hamstring yourself to Christianity?
Pretty much. And yeah, he got annihilated by Matt Dillahunty. Same with Sam Harris. Same thing with Dinesh D'Souza getting wrecked by both of them as well. He
had a debate with Dinesh D'Souza and got wrecked.
No, Matt and Sam Harris.
Oh, okay.
And also I think he went up against Alex O'Connor, and that also wasn't pretty. But I think Jordan is trying to have one foot in, one foot out. He wants to be able to appeal to the like Catholic communities, while at the same time keeping plausible deniability as to what his actual beliefs are.
I think his sort of, what do I call it, infatuation with Christianity, I think that comes from his association with the conservative movement, like or his willingness, or not even willingness, his sorry, I'm getting a bit lost for words. Like he purposely wants to somehow include Christianity into it to appease the conservative movement of like USA and Canada.
Yeah.
Or Canada, obviously, to a lesser extent. So, yeah. I think that's his biggest problem. Like, if you remove the Christianity aspect of it, like, even though it'll be like, you would have a much more personalized version of religion, but at least you can defend it. At least you can like attach stories to it. At least you can, bring dragons into it and whatnot, like whatever the fuck.
Moon's nailing it. Peterson between a rock and a hard place, smart enough to know that he can't logically defend God's existence, but he also knows it's a big part of his audience and religious conservatives. And then adding in,
I don't think logic comes into it. I think he's smart enough to know that you cannot logically arrive at like at a conclusion that there is God.
Well, there's a fun
In my
little thing.
opinion,
There's a fun little thing you get to do when you utilize religion as your weapon of choice. And that fun little thing you get to do is claim moral superiority. And that whatever you're saying has a grounding that whoever you're speaking against does not have. And so he wants to be able to claim that, but at the same time not claim it. It's really Weasley.
There's this great sort of this guy in India. Basically, he's like the like a debate lord in Indian politics, right? Fuck, I forget his name. I might look at it, but he said this great line once that has stuck with me. He said that don't apply secularity to religious places because you won't like the application of religion into secular places. His essential point is that both of these things are separate. Your thought process when it comes to religion and the logic chain that you use for religion is completely separate from what you would do in an otherwise non-religious everyday aspect of your life. Which I kind of respect. Like, you basically just upfront just lay it out. Yeah, religious is nonsense, but we are working in a nonsensical environment. And you know what? Sometimes people need nonsense in their lives.
Yeah.
Sure, that's based.
I'm not going to disagree with that. That's pretty clear.
Yeah. So if you're willing to be that, just be honest about it, right? Like, why do you want to meld these two different spheres of thought? I'm not even going to say one is not like unnecessary or something. Like, okay, yes, some people, I was an atheist for a few years. And yeah, when I realized that maybe I need some kind of spirituality in my life, right? I'm not afraid to say that. But I'm not going to go lecture other people about how they should find their spirituality or how they find happiness in their lives.
Well, it'd also be fine if he were honest, like you were saying, and saying that, hey, these stories aren't real, but the basis of these stories are reasonable to gain some insight into how we operate as human beings because they've been passed down over time, so they have some value, and we're picking apart what the value is to make our lives better. You can do that, but to claim they're both of a divine nature and not at the same time makes you disingenuous. Even though I can't claim he's disingenuous because he's never going to admit what he actually believes and doesn't believe.
Yeah, I mean, I think Peterson is unknowingly disingenuous, which might seem a little bit contradictory. Like, how can you be disingenuous but not know that you are being disingenuous? And by that, I mean that he has basically taken his attachment to the conservative movement to the point that it's essentially affecting his thought process.
Ooh. I was always thinking it was about his drug thing when he went into that coma and he came out like looking for something.
I'm not familiar with like his entire history and all. That might have obviously would have had like a part to play in it, right? But yeah, I think now he's at a stage where he's working backwards in his thoughts. Like, how do I start from Christianity and somehow connect it to what I've said previously in my lectures?
Kind of makes sense. He was addicted to benzos for a while. I think his wife had cancer and he got super stressed out and got on anti-anxiety meds, and then ended up going to Germany and getting put into like a chemically induced coma to get over his addiction to benzos.
I mean, that type of life circumstance would make anyone, want to find God or spirituality or anything, right? Like, yeah, like have the IQ, have the capability to dissociate yourself as a human being. And I know it's super hard, like under that type of emotional distress and all that. Like, it takes people like years, if not decades, sometimes to come out of those types of like situations. right? Like even after the death of your loved one, it can stay with you for several years. But yeah, then at least recognize that you're not in a space to be like an intellectual in these spaces.
Pretty much. Let me ban this.
It would that would lead to what has happened now. Like he probably needs to go underground for like a few months and then come out on Daily Wire for some bullshit. Like basically he embarrassed himself. Like he got caught soiling his pants in public, essentially.
It was nasty. Yeah, Peterson was always disingenuous.
So like normally I go to these Jubilee videos.
I'm still right here.
Oh. Yeah, I'm saying like normally I go to these Jubilee videos and look at the comments, and it's just so depressing on how many people are like just completely illogical, completely just don't know the facts. At least like in this video, every single person is completely shitting on Peterson. It's like actually disgusting how much he's being like stripped down in the comment section.
It's kind of the hilarity of it. It's
like
almost
the
unanimously
dumbest people on
understood.
planet Earth. The dumbest fucking people on planet Earth, which is the MAGA tards, even they can see through his bullshit.
Yeah, he didn't. So in trying to appeal to both sides of the spectrum, he appealed to neither. And people saw him as being fake all the way around.
Yep.
Like, I've never seen such a unanimous opinion of what this was. I consider it a huge W for atheism because most of the people that went up against Peterson were able to slap down the things that he was trying to do.
You got people like fucking Andrew Wilson going on Piers Morgan and trying to save Christianity's face. Like basically just coming out and saying, yeah, I don't know, Jordan Peterson, I don't know, he'd let down all the Christians. Like people like Andrew Wilson have to go and like, yeah, try and basically defend Christianity.
I got to do a little bit of
the next day from the fallout of this shit.
A little bit of damage control for Christianity's sake.
Yeah. Yep, Wilson was on Piers Morgan.
Andrew has been doing big things.
So Piers Morgan's been doing small things. Yeah, I agree with you. How low is Piers willing to go, not how high Wilson's got himself.
When I'm saying that I reject the concept of God, I'm aware of these other definitions.
Piers realized there's a gold mine of content just out there.
We tend to only imply one meaning at a time. So the same way that I would say the Mona Lisa is moving emotionally, but I would not say it's moving physically. I would say I reject the concept of God in this very literal way. But
what literal way?
The way that God is this omniscient, omnipotent, agentic, supernatural being.
God, look at him with that blank expression. He never changes that expression for the entire thing, except when he's really angry, so I guess it's like 50-50. This is now 12 minutes into the surrounded video, and people are still having to explain to him how words work, how conversations go, and how what atheists are challenging is the specific religious dogma around Christianity, because they thought that was what they were there to fucking talk about in the first place. And every time they start to get into the actual conversation, Peterson just keeps grabbing them by the ankles and dragging them down into this weird bog of semantics. Eventually, this very patient guy gets Peterson to define God.
So Elijah, the prophet Elijah, defined God in the Old Testament as the voice of conscience within.
Okay.
That's a definition.
So you're saying by that definition of God, I see this is kind of goes back to where I'm saying initially.
I'm not defining it. Elijah defined it.
Okay, so as Elijah defines God.
It's defined that way in Jonah too.
Okay, so as
Cardinal Newman also defined it that way.
As I'm sure you know many people who've defined it that way. I do think there are lots of interesting ways to define God. And that goes back to my kind of opening
Then how
statement.
do we specify what we're arguing about?
We use context clues, or again, it goes back to my example of the Mona Lisa.
I'm defining God as conscience.
Oh, okay. I guess we all believe in God and he wins because he swapped the word God with conscience.
See, again, he starts out with like a wild claim, and the second he gives a definition, he's going to have to exactly. He has to back away from it, and it's really plain to see him do it when he's in this setting, because it happens so often that every time you want to use the definitions that he was previously using at any point during this conversation, he's going to walk away from it.
Dude, how can you debate with a person to be like you're debating, oh, is this lemon the color yellow? Right? And his answer is, oh, yellow is defined by the wavelength like between X and Y range of wavelength in light. Like, okay, so this lemon emits wavelength of this XYZ light in that range, right? So this is yellow. And he's like, I never said that. I just told you what yellow was. It's like, how many layers do you have to peel? Like, is that what conversations are going to be like? Is that what is that how devolved we are as people, that we're basically going back to the age of like when communication was invented by fucking apes and shit?
Or we have to try to fill in all the blanks that are in the dictionary until we finally have a concise understanding amongst each other of what words actually mean? Yeah, probably.
Do you think dictionary is going to help?
I mean, no, because they're going to use proprietary definitions.
It's not even a proprietary definition. It is, the guy is backing away from the definition he laid out. It's not a case of like imagine you go to the dictionary, right? You go to the dictionary and show them that, yeah, female means person whose gender identity aligns with their sexual I forget, like the strata on their sexuality or whatever. You show them this is the female, and that would include trans women, and they're like, oh, I don't count that. Like, but motherfucker, you said to go to the dictionary, and I'm showing you the dictionary definition, and it includes trans women, and now you're like, oh, I don't count the dictionary. So what are we doing here?
That's what it's devolved to, and people find this to be intelligent discourse for some reason, because they don't think they themselves can have a conversation like this, or they don't know what these words mean, and they feel like these people are championing them. Except for in this case, because Jordan Peterson screwed the pooch.
No, what I'm saying is that this is Jordan Peterson, and it's blatant to see. This thing, what's happening right now, is happening way more in our society.
Absolutely.
When you talk to conservatives who know they don't have a leg to stand on, who appeal to morality, but it breaks down like literally in 2 microseconds the moment you question it, because they're using this type of like fucking, number one, they're using post hoc rationalization. Then they're basically deconstructing the entire fucking legacy of communication that we have, not even in English language. I'm gonna go as far as fucking Latin. Like, what language was the Bible written in?
Multiple languages. Greek.
Yeah, because that is going to be an argument at some point, which is like, oh, we only include but if you look at the original Greek/Latin translation of the Bible, this is not actually what it meant and all that shit. Like, this is what it will devolve to eventually.
My son wasn't allowed to throw a snowball, for example, in elementary school.
So what I'm saying is that, yeah, it's easy to laugh on Peterson. This is happening way more in our daily lives than we like to,
their masculine impulses.
than we like to ignore, or that we choose to ignore.
Aggressive, psychopathic boys, they simply don't care.
What is this?
So they'll be the ones fathering your grandchildren in the future. If tomorrow's woman can find a man to sleep with at all, that'll keep the testosterone flowing. For The Agenda with Steve Paikin, I'm Jordan Peterson.
What a freaking poser. Trying to run game theory real quick while talking about, well, the kid that bullies your kid is going to be the one that has kids, so...
Is that fucking real?
Going. I want to assume it was real. It seemed like some older stuff.
It didn't seem like some AI shit. Like,
I don't even want to talk about AI. Like, I've been avoiding it like the plague. It was real.
Oh God.
What a loser. How do you feel like you're gonna get respect wearing a fedora? That already got ruined. The memes themselves destroyed the fedora long ago. All right, back to this madness.
Masterfully played, sir. Hilariously, moments before, when Peterson first brings up conscience, he tells the guy this.
So
What are you getting at?
I'm getting at the fact that your conscience guides you. Is that reasonable?
Conscious is defined by
Conscience.
my empathy and my reason are my foundational.
Define it any way you want.
Okay.
Define in any way you want. Who do you think you're talking to, Jordan Peterson?
We know damn
Jordan
well.
Peterson?
Plus
Anyway,
one
this
misogyny,
guy, this
minus
saint,
5
keeps
sex
trying
appeal.
to explain the basic concept of words to this
Must say,
deadpan
milady.
dildo until Peterson finally drops what I think he thinks is the truth bomb.
Atheists reject God, but they don't
Right,
understand
but
what they're rejecting.
you're
You
being-
accept conscience as a guide, and conscience is one of the defining characteristics of God in the Old Testament.
I think you're being
Flag
intellectually
on the play.
disingenuous.
So, his argument is that atheists reject God but don't understand what they are objecting to. Because atheists recognize and follow their conscience, which is one of the characteristics of God in the Bible. One of. Again, I'm not here to debate the existence of God because I'm just not drunk enough.
Neither is
But
he.
you could use this argument for anything. I could say that people who reject the existence of Freddy Krueger don't understand what they are objecting to because they also acknowledge that people have dreams or wear striped sweaters.
And that's another argument that came down, like a dude basically turned it on him, and that was why it became such a brutal exercise for Peterson when some dude was like, hey, have you heard of the Polynesian deity Lona? And he's like, no. Well, then why are you rejecting Lona? You know, you just don't understand what Lona is. Like, these arguments work against him as much as they possibly could work for him, and they don't.
And that's what I said before, that there is a version of these arguments that could work. The only thing that's hamstrung him is his association with Christianity.
Agreed. Like I said, he could have done it like from a secular standpoint, say these stories have value in our societies based on the history of why they exist in the first place. But the second you try to make it like a spiritual metaphysical thing, like, you've already lost the plot. And he cooks himself repeatedly. And now Cody's basically saying, well, you know, how do you not believe in Freddy Krueger when there's striped shirts and fedoras?
Yeah, it's that
You
the
could, of
age-old
course,
Spider-Man argument. Hey, New York exists. Like, comic book says that Spider-Man exists in New York, so therefore, Spider-Man must exist.
I love it. It's one of my favorites. All right, running the video.
Use a lot of words to characterize God. Truth. One of the characteristics of God in the Bible is also truth. So if you believe in truth, do you have to believe in God? People can easily believe in the concept of a conscience without attributing it to God. In fact, Peterson is surrounded by only people who don't think their
I have a
conscience
prediction.
is also God. So ultimately,
what's up?
Do you think this video is the start of like atheism 3.0 movement? I think that might actually be.
Really?
Yeah, I think that this video will basically allow people, when they see that, oh, this is what religion leads to intellectually. It's not that there's going to be people who will become atheists, but they will start consuming more atheism content.
Oh, that's possible. He may have
Like the
created
age-old-
a bunch of new atheists with this dog water he's doing.
Right.
But I don't
because I started getting recommended like the new version of Atheist Experience after this video came out.
I mean, fair enough. I think we should all like have some understanding of no, new atheism is such a 15, 20 years ago concept. Like Dawkins doesn't even fit anymore. Like I think Hitchens is like the main
yeah,
thing that movement is holding on to.
Yeah, so like I said, atheism 1.0 was like 90s, early 2000, then 2.0 was alongside Gamergate, and now that's why I said use 3.0.
As opposed to the skeptic alt-right atheism. What the heck? Now I know he's fucking with me. I'll let that slide this time, Myopic. But yeah, I don't think it's gonna like broaden atheism in any strong way. But at the same time, I think it may have made a few atheists in the process. If anybody was questioning and seeing how full of holes the arguments are, people now understand some of the thought process. Yeah, they already happen. Like Sargon, definitely. Like I don't know anything about Shoe on Head, but fair enough. I don't think I
Those
would have learned
alt-right
anything
atheists,
from them.
they, by the way, like people like Sargon, Styx, Hex and Hammer, all those idiots, like their problem has also been that they want to latch onto the conservative movement, and because of that, they had to essentially let go of their atheism to be like, oh, there's probably a version of God. Oh, like I've had a spiritual awakening or some bullshit.
Yeah, Dawkins is now arguing for cultural Christianity to get rid of the ideas of the trans ideology and Islam. So yeah, that shit doesn't work.
I think so. Here's the thing. I do think that Dawkins is being misrepresented. Like, first of all, let's recognize that you can be an atheist and be like against trans ideology, right? Those two things are separate. Like, you don't necessarily have to be an atheist and be a trans ally. So first of all, people have to be more open to opinions, right? Like that spectrum of opinions when it comes to like the political and social landscape. That you will encounter people, even heroes, who you looked up to, who about atheism, but who might turn out to disagree with you on other aspects. I do not think, having watched some of Richard Dawkins' recent content, I do not think that he is arguing for cultural Christianity. He might have at some point. I'm not saying that I have been consuming his content religiously, quote unquote. See what I did there? But yeah.
I mean, if he's
I did
not,
not get the impression that he's arguing for cultural Christianity.
I mean, if
at any point during his more recent
content. He may have stopped, but he was.
If he was, then I stand corrected.
Let me look up the quote. So he clarifies that he doesn't mean he believes in the tenets of Christianity, but rather that he appreciates and identifies the cultural aspects and traditions of faith, particularly in his native Britain. And the whole reason why he was pushing forward this idea, and he also said, like, this was last year, I'm a cultural Christian. He said, without the tenets and ideas of Christianity, oh, here you go. I'll throw it in the chat. You lose out on like the beauty of churches and, you know, singing and all the artwork and everything else. And then he proceeds to start saying the problems that he has with Islam encroaching on his native Britain. So it's literally like over xenophobia.
I'll have to go through it. You can continue with the video in the meantime.
Yeah, I want to find the rest of the quotes, but he has a lot of quotes. Oh, here we go. The migration thesis. The city is a poor imitation of heavenly community, the modern state, a deformed version of the ecclesia, the market, and distortions of consummation, modern entertainment, a caricature of joy, schooling, and a misrepresentation of true formation, liberalism, a crass simulacrum of freedom, and the sovereignty of we accord to it the self, a parody of God himself. Like, it's ridiculous. So that was last year. So if he changed his position as of this year,
I'm just saying I did not get the
cool.
impression. I'm just saying I did not get the impression.
That's fair.
But
let me see. There was one other. So Richard Dawkins has been a vocal critic of Islam, expressing strong opinions about its perceived negative aspects, particularly in comparison to Christianity. He has stated that if forced to choose, he would favor Christianity over Islam. Dawkins also criticized what he sees the oppressive cruelties of Islam and the impact of political Islam on Muslim women. He has defended his criticism as targeting political Islam rather than individual Muslims, and has questioned why his criticism of Islam is treated differently than his criticism of Christianity. And there's another woman, Ayan something or other. Seriously, you're just gonna leave like that? Okay, you're gonna gaslight and run. Got you. You have it. Was it Ayan Hersey? What was her name? Yeah, this woman, Ayan Hersey Ali, is also pushing for cultural Christianity and has been hanging out with Dawkins. You're not wrong, Amber. If you're gonna have it one way, you can't have it both ways. Yeah, Ayan Hersey has been insufferable. So these people...
I'm surprised, like, Richard Dawkins just basically
damn it,
like, Richard Dawkins did the thing. Like, he used to say that, like, this is like some kind of what an underhanded way that religion captures people, is that, oh, I may not believe in atheism, or I might not believe in Christianity, but I like what Christianity has to offer. And then he would say that, no, we would get music, we would get poems, we'd get all of this regardless of religion. Like, there's been interviews of him, like, people would ask him, like, but what about the churches and architecture and all that shit? And he used to refute them. I don't remember exactly what he said. And now he's saying the thing.
That's what I'm saying. And he's using it
as
a cudgel against the thing he doesn't like. He's not using it because he likes it. He's using it because there's something he doesn't like that's afraid of it. It's like using a cross to get rid of a vampire.
Yeah, if you're afraid about, like, immigrants, then just say it. Why do you want to attach yourself to Christianity again? A fucking old white man.
Because that doesn't sound good. It doesn't sound as good on paper or in an interview.
No, but then be real, right? Like, you'd rather oppose what you've been doing for 20 fucking years, and people would still come to the same conclusion that, yeah, you're being a little racist.
And then they try to
little, I mean a lot.
Then they try to invoke the ghost of Hitchens and say he would be agreeing with us. Nah, fuck y'all. He says his shit with his chest, unlike you. He was just like, hey, Mother Teresa's a piece of shit, and kept it pushing.
Like, I understand. Sometimes there are actual existential threats that, yeah, you need to take actions. If this is the limit for you, sure. But yeah, this is nowhere near the limit that any sort of intellectual would say. Just don't count yourself as an intellectual, right?
I think we give them those titles. There are some people that try to claim it for themselves, but we give them that currency, and it's irritating.
Yeah. It's so bizarre.
Because you have people like Chris Langan or whatever his name is that claims he has the highest IQ on the planet, and the only reason why he hasn't been able to give a sound theory of everything is because, you know, the academics are out to get him, and, you know, the everyman has the intuition to know all the things that he's talking about. Like, this dude is literally trying to damn it. This dude is literally trying to make himself out to be the intellectual, and has convinced people that this is the case. These people have the moniker slapped on them, and we give them far more credence than they ever deserved.
And yeah, I agree that if you listen to Richard Dawkins on atheism and why he rejected God, then it's probably not the best to then hear his thoughts on culture and society and what proportion of white people to black
What
people
is
to
my
brown
chat
people should be
doing
there
right
in
now?
UK.
Yeah, absolutely. And like kind of with Peterson. Peterson's not worthless. Peterson is very good when it comes to
He is now.
I'm gonna say like when it comes to psychology, he knows his shit for the most part. But when he's talking about
Does
men's
he?
issues, when he's
I don't
talking
even
about,
think that's the case now.
I mean, I
I
could
don't
be
even
wrong.
would. Like, I'm not a psychologist, so I don't know these terms. But what I'm saying is, if Peterson were to create like a psychology lecture tomorrow, I would be extremely skeptical about what he's saying.
Well, yeah, because his
Because
credibility
now I
never
know that
goes.
his credibility is gone. So I'd be like, okay, what's the angle here? Like I would not presume his expertise at psychology anymore.
I'm not assuming, like from the things I've heard from him when it comes down to psychology, he tends to be pretty spot on, and there's not a lot I can argue with. But the second he uses that and tries to branch out into other areas, the whole thing collapses like a house of cards.
But the thing is, he has demonstrated that he is now post hoc rationalizing his thoughts. So his thoughts on psychology, maybe he would say some shit like, oh, I disagree with the Psychiatric Association on this one thing. And we would ask, okay, what evidence do you have? And he won't be able to provide it because he's post hoc rationalizing, okay, how do I fit this particular sentiment about religion into my study of, or my analysis of psychology? He'll probably make up some bullshit stat like, oh, depression is more prevalent in atheists than it is in something. And then you ask him, what is it? Like, it objectively not true. And he's like, oh, but they do take antidepressants, don't they? So if you're giving that,
he didn't do that. He didn't do that in this, and I'm actually
I,
kind of proud of him.
I think like I'm just saying like he might do some shit like that, and use technical jargon to make it sound more of an expert to or appear more like an expert to the Dunning-Kruger people.
He might get there at some point, especially after he's failed so miserably here. But anybody that makes that argument, it's very difficult to have that stand. So I would hope he doesn't fall that low. But at least during this entire Jubilee, I don't believe he made that argument. Because even Clandis in her most recent Jubilee tried to use that stat against feminism, and it didn't work. She got dog walked for it.
Yep, I'm glad she did.
I mean, the study should speak for itself, and its findings should be clear, as the study is represented by the people that did the study in the first place. So that would be a pretty snaky way of handling things. But we'll see. And I'm going to play the video.
He's saying that atheists don't understand his, as in Jordan Peterson's broad and vague definition of God. And it's not even his. Peterson seems frustrated to be even asked and kind of brushes off the need to even define God, like he wasn't prepared for these simple requests. He says, well, Elijah defined it this way, as if he's throwing this guy a bone. Jordan, you're the one slowing this conversation down. They want you to define God. Wouldn't you know it, I don't want to get bogged down with definitions or whatever, but what Peterson said, quote, Elijah defined God as the voice of conscience within,
correlation thing.
isn't
Whenever
really
somebody
true.
points it out,
None of these people, neither the characters from the stories nor Cardinal Newman, define God as the voice of conscience within. They consider the conscience to be something divine, yes, an aboriginal vicar of Christ, as the cardinal phrases it. Or, simply put, the conscience is the voice or a tool of God used to guide people toward truth and goodness. That's not defining God as the conscience. That's attributing something else to the actions or intentions of a spiritual being who has yet to be defined. It's an extension of God. If your friend Brad sends you instructions and advice in the mail, you wouldn't say, the definition of Brad is the mail. Again, not to get definitionally bogged down, but Jordan, this definition sucks and is wrong and a misinterpretation of those fictional and real people's words. Bad job, you still need to define God because you didn't. So obviously, this isn't really a productive conversation. And ultimately, this guy just gets completely exhausted by it.
My definition of God as conscience is a lot more precise and oriented than your definition of the God that you hypothetically disbelieve in.
It's irrelevant to the fault lines of this debate.
How is it irrelevant?
Because in common parlance, when we're talking about atheist, God, belief, not belief,
I
we're
don't
not
care
talking
about common parlance. I'm trying to get to something fundamental.
I think your point is irrelevant to the way that people
very
tend
nice
to use
point.
these words. Your point that there are these polysemous
I didn't make
ideas
that
of God.
point. You did.
I did. Well, I
made a specific point that God
right.
was associated with conscience.
I just feel like you kind of retreat into this semantic fog.
I'm not retreating at all. I'm advancing, sir. You are retreating.
You're not advancing at all.
Sir. Argument 1. Yeesh, we are only at the 18-minute mark of the 90-minute surrounded video.
I haven't seen
and I
someone
already
run from
feel
a
like
Mott to a
sleeping
Bailey so
forever.
quickly in my
His
life.
next claim is that morality and purpose cannot be found within science. Almost immediately, someone points out that early humans and chimps absolutely have morality and compassion, and it becomes immediately clear that Peterson is playing yet another word game.
Science has to exist within a moral framework that isn't in itself scientific.
How's that not scientific?
Bro,
Well, because it's not derived from the scientific process, as you just indicated by pointing to.
And now I can say
Hang on a second.
We are social animals, and we need that to
Don't
exist
ask
as
what
a
the
group.
logic is there.
Sounds like a personal problem to me, bro.
Okay, so when his claim was that morality cannot be found within science,
don't want to
I
talk
think
about
everyone
Mom
assumed
Donnie
he
today,
meant that
'cause there's
morality
been
can't
some
be found
interesting
in
news.
nature, or
I'm
that it
trying to
isn't
leave the
explained by
politics alone.
science, and therefore is the work of God. But does he mean that morality wasn't literally created through the scientific method? Like, because we didn't find morality with beakers or a hypothesis or something, it has to be from God?
Yeah, dude hasn't
I
even
don't
been
know.
elected yet.
He
He's
does seem
ruining
to try
everything.
and claim that science can't explain morality, gets corrected, and just dismisses it completely.
You pointed to the morality of Neanderthals, to the morality of chimpanzees. They didn't derive that from science.
They don't need to. That's not how that
my
works.
point.
Science explains
out
it.
if we can
So you
No,
just-
science doesn't
naturalized
explain
citizens.
morality.
It doesn't explain how social animals would need to be.
Well, that's
altruistic.
a complicated question.
But we see it.
So this is one that's pretty plain to see. Like, okay, you get to the idea that atheism only describes one thing, that you don't believe in a deity. It doesn't inform anything else. It doesn't inform whether evolution is true. It doesn't inform where morality comes from. It doesn't inform any of these things. So then the expectation is, if you don't believe in the deity, you have to account for where these other things come from. And I don't think that's true or fair. But at the same time, most people can give a reasonable understanding of, well, I mean, a lot of people can give a fair understanding of, you know, us being social creatures and having to be in a social group. There may be some behaviors that the group is going to find distasteful. And over time, what the group is going to find distasteful is going to change. And that's how our morality has changed over time. But that's usually not acceptable to people like this. Zephyr, thoughts?
No, not really. Any thoughts on this? Like, I'm kind of still reeling from the Richard Dawkins shit.
I'm sorry. It's okay. Sometimes our heroes disappoint us.
No, he's not my hero. I have no heroes except my granddad.
I was fucking with you. But yeah. Give people enough time and they'll disappoint you sometimes.
Right. I promise if I have something to share, then I will.
By all means.
Yeah, but explaining the evolution of morality and explaining morality itself aren't the same thing.
Okay, so you're asking why does this happen?
Are they though?
Yes, that's more accurate.
Because we're social animals and we need
but there's
to be.
more to it than that.
Is there?
Sure.
Now, I would actually argue that just because something developed before the scientific method was codified doesn't mean that all the elements of the scientific method didn't exist.
You can't have a
There were still
socialist running
millions of
around New
years
York.
of questioning, hypothesizing, experimenting, analyzing,
ruin
coming to
everything.
conclusions, and communicating. We are, after all, social animals. But whatever. You might also be wondering what the point of this claim even is, because everyone else certainly was. Saying that morality cannot be found within science is, again, broad and confusing in relation to religion. It would be helpful if Peterson actually explained what he means at the top of this, but people have to kind of tease it out of him throughout each segment, or in Peterson's nightmares,
he's
pump
getting
it out
slowly walked down
You have to
into a
assume
corner.
that he's making a point about God here, because why else would he be bringing it up in this video? But every time someone asks a direct question or looks for clarity, this happens.
It's not driven by a higher power. It's driven on our experiences
Define
as
higher.
humans.
So if there is a God
Define
and there is a
higher.
moral code and it doesn't come at your
Jackass.
benefit, are you going to follow it?
It depends on how you define your benefit. If you define
go-
your benefit,
if it's going to come at your expense, would you still
Define
follow
your
it?
expense.
If God, I don't care. I still wake up every day and I have motivation to be a moral person.
define moral.
Absolutely exhausting. What a slog of a man. One of the things Peterson keeps stressing in the video is that he's not trying to win a debate and just wants to have a conversation. But people who have conversations don't need to constantly clarify definitions of common words.
So
This
here's my
feels more like
question.
he's stretching for time.
Okay.
So if we are, I'm gonna assume when Peterson asks define benefit, he's probably leaning onto something that, oh, you might not see a benefit in the short term, but might turn out that in the long term it is beneficial for human society in ways that we can't foresee because God is like all knowing and all that bullshit. And therefore he has some plan in place that even though in the short term it is harming me or like people around me, but in the long term it will help humanity to a greater extent or some shit. Would you say that that would be like a good faith reading of what Peterson was getting onto?
Yeah, assuming he's operating in good faith to begin with.
Right.
And that's kind
And
of
then these people then reject taxation. Even though it's not even like a long-term benefit that you can't foresee. Like you can probably see it in a few years. Like they reject increase on taxes, they reject mixed economies, things like that, which kind of baffles me. That if God came to you tomorrow and said, hey, communism is like the best path forward for humanity, what would you do?
they would probably reject it because that's exactly what they're rejecting is the progressive nature of certain ideas. They don't like it.
Right. That's the impression I'm getting, is that it's convenient because it gives you space to maneuver. But then if you ask them directly, like, okay, what if God literally told you that the way you're leading your life is fake, is false, and that in order for the betterment of humanity, you need to change your ways? Like, he'd probably refuse. Like, motherfucker, like, remember his rant from like a few years ago where he's like, oh, now they want to take away cars. Cars are the biggest symbol of independence in America or some bullshit that he said.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what happens. So whenever you get a progressive idea into the framework of society, they're extremely recalcitrant to it.
Either they're so confident in their belief that they would basically claim that, oh, God would never do such a thing because the way I'm living my life is actually the correct way to live my life based on like whatever XYZ factors, primarily God, but other factors, or they're doing a post hoc rationalization. Like they want less taxes. They want a capitalist society, or like overtly capitalist society. And therefore they would leverage this idea of God to get to that.
And that's the conservative end of it, is this is the way society is run. It seemed to have worked this long. I like the society I'm in. Changing anything is going to ruin the core of that society. I mean, I don't even think they really want to raise taxes on the working class. It's just they understand that they're not going to get the other things that they want. Somebody's going to have to pay the taxes, and they just don't want it to be them. That's what it seems to come down to.
Yeah.
All right. Back to it.
rather than engaging in an honest exchange, right? He's litigating every word, often to completely avoid the original question, because at this point, no one seems to know what he's trying to say or what he even believes. And so eventually, someone gets extremely frustrated and just asks him point blank if he believes in an all-knowing and all-powerful God. And boy, the answer might surprise you.
So do you believe in the all-knowing, all-powerful, all-good notion of God?
What do you mean by believe?
Actually, it won't surprise you. Holy fucking shit, Jordan.
That is such a clear question that he did not want to answer because it's just a straight up contradiction. So he's just going to break it down to complete nonsense because why the hell not? What do you mean believe? Like, does he not understand context and conversation?
This is worse than that Bill Clinton testimony. This whole thing kind of feels like a trial. It feels.
I don't even believe, like, I want to say he does understand that, but I'm not too sure anymore. Like, I'm just having a hard time figuring out if it's like malicious ignorance or is it like genuine ignorance.
You kind of have to ask that question at this point. I would think so too, Hammer. So it's either an obfuscation and he's being a bad faith interlocutor, or he literally doesn't understand basic inferences in conversation. Or
It's such an intellectual that he's gone over the edge and basically has become a postmodernist.
Kind of ridiculous.
Like, I'm open to people asking questions like, oh, what do you mean by benefit? What do you like? But this is not the space to do it, right?
I would not think so.
Yeah, like, how do you determine what good outcomes are? Like, what is the sort of time frame that you should take into consideration for a particular thing, right? Like, for example, when it comes to the environment, yeah, we definitely need to take decades-long framework. When you're talking about our if we're getting retirement accounts, our social security, then we're talking about like 20 to 30 years from now. But it's like, I'm open to people asking these questions about religion. That how long a time frame are we considering? How long what is like the meaning of stories behind it? But if all you do is ask questions and never actually answer anything, then what are we doing here? Like, how can you answer a question with a question which is not even like leading to an argument? You're basically questioning the very, like, the words that you're using. Like, what do you, and it's not one, like, what's the meme? Like, he said, what do you mean by mean? Does he say that during this conversation?
I mean, what do you mean by belief was already bad enough, so I'm going to leave that alone. And no, Hammer, I did not know that was your pet peeve, but now that I know, I'm going to use that information to the best of my ability. Probably not, but still.
Yeah, if you want to have that conversation, yeah, like we will have that conversation. Just pick a fucking decent forum for it.
Yeah, I saw the entire debate, and he honestly does not give a satisfactory answer to that. As goofy as it is. So, yeah, let's see.
Feels like Jordan Peterson is guilty or hiding something and is trying to talk around it, doesn't it? We will come back to that. But if you're wondering how this define believe conversation goes, let's find out.
What do you mean by believe?
Do you think it to be true?
That's the circular definition. What do you mean when you say you believe?
How is that circular?
Because you added no content to the answer by substituting the word true and believe.
I said you think it to be true.
All right. So if you believe something, you stake your life on it.
What do you mean by that?
No. How crazy is that? If you believe something, you stake your life on it. I believe my water got turned off. I'm not going to stake my life on that. Like, come on. It's definitely him trying to kill some time, and hopefully that the flags will go up fast enough that somebody else tries to get in and save him from this shit, because he just got wrecked immediately.
This part of the conversation is like so mental, bro. He's like, brother goes like
context.
on a fucking brother goes on like a fucking moral crusade in his own head. Like the word belief and like truth and died like trigger him so much. Like he genuinely thinks, I think at this moment, that he's doing like the Knights Crusade. What was it? What's the Templars bullshit? Like I think in this moment he thinks of himself as a Templar fighting against like the infidels or some bullshit.
That was a crazy line of questioning. And then the definition that he has of belief at that point is something that you stake your life on. Do you believe something to be true? Do you believe that water is wet? Like, come on.
Can I give a good faith interpretation of that statement?
Do it.
Okay. I'm sure people are gonna get fucking annoyed at me. So I don't think he's saying like, oh, I believe my like water's leaking out of the sink. I don't think he's talking about that. What he's talking about is, I believe that the things around me are real, that what I am seeing is actually happening. That if I believe that water is leaking from the tap, that nobody's like playing mind games with me, like I haven't lost my grasp on reality. And I would stake my life on my grasp of reality, I think is what he's getting at.
I was taking it more to the end of when the supposed apostles or people that believed in the religion itself gave their lives when
but for them, religion. Yeah, but for them, that religion is reality. So I think what it boils down to is, do you like belief is, are you confident enough in saying that you can perceive reality as it is? Because if you've lost your grasp on reality, essentially, like, like if you're unsure about what you're seeing is real, you might as well kill yourself. That's what he's saying.
That is the most charitable interpretation possible, and I'm fairly certain he doesn't even elaborate to that point. Let's see.
You live for it, and you die for it.
Okay, so the correct thing to do here is to repeat the original question. Remember,
you live for it and you die for it. That seems like a bit of a stretch there. What say you, Z?
Yeah, live for it, die for it. I'm like, that.
It sounds like
what is the foundational? Yeah, I know. He's just. I'm telling you, like the way he's saying it is like some bullshit, like moral crusade type of way, where he's like thinking of himself as like a Knights Templar bullshit, like motherfucker Christian in an armor taking on like 100 infidels. What he's getting at, if I were to be charitable, is that what is your foundational value? And do you think your foundational value aligns with reality of life and like people in society and all that bullshit? If it doesn't, then like what are you doing? Either your foundational values are disorganized, or like you're incapable of living in this world as it is, because your foundational values will end up at a contradiction in society at some point.
And I think this is where he got really hung up eventually, when he started talking, when the line of questioning about, would you lie to save people? Question. And he's like, I would have had to have screwed up so horribly to even end up in that position that nothing would matter at that point.
Right. But what I fail to grasp is like, why can't people change their values? Why can't people be like, oh, I used to think this, guess I was wrong. Like I used to believe in something, guess I was wrong. Now I believe in something else, which more aligns with my lived experience. Why do you need to kill yourself to be like, oh, why would, like, I don't need to stake my life on it. Like, I might have at some point. Like, maybe I was misled. Maybe I actually figured that, yeah, I will stake my life on it. But I turned out to be wrong without the need to kill myself. So,
yeah, trying to create a moral imperative where no moral imperative is necessary for the context of which he said, "Do you believe?" And he still, even based on his framework, could have answered that question. He just chose not to.
So it's weird, right? Like,
so
is he
with that,
saying
Wombat, with that right there, could he have answered the question? Say, okay, sure, I accept your definition, fine. So, do you believe? Are you willing to die for this belief?
Okay, last I checked, a few hundred trans people are killing themselves for what they believe in every year, and Peterson, who is anti-trans, hasn't done that yet. So, are the trans people genuinely believe? Like, because they're willing to die for it, and they do die for it. But what is Peterson doing then?
Oh, he tries to run the moral grandstand after that, talking about why he lost his job and him standing on his morals.
Right.
After that, you got to do both.
But am I right in making that sort of line that, yeah, there are people who are actually dying and you aren't? So are you saying that their belief is more valid because they actually die for it?
These are the questions.
Like, that would be the conclusion, right?
You would think. But back to the video. This is ridiculous.
Remember, the original question was asking him if he believes in an all-knowing and all-powerful God. Just repeat that question. Do it. Come on.
Okay, so you're saying that you don't believe something if you wouldn't die for it?
Not really, no.
Okay. So then,
how would you define belief? Something you say?
Well, can I explain? Like, I could
Answer the
believe it is the
question,
case that
bro.
this pen exists, but if someone like threatened my life, right, I would lie in order to be able to save my life, right? Like, I think you would do that too. You wouldn't lie to save your life?
Don't be so sure.
You wouldn't lie to save your life?
Guys, hey guys, can we get back to that original question? Again, it seems like he's distracting from the original question. So if someone could just remind him.
Would you lie to like save your children, your mom, your dad?
I don't think lying would save them.
Bro, then don't be so sure. Like, wait, does he think he's in a fucking Bond movie? Like, what the fuck is going on?
Peterson tucked tail and ran from that question. He was chilling in his mott and then just bolted for the Bailey immediately.
Like, Peterson is at this point where he genuinely believes that there is a group of people who's trying to dissociate, like, your consciousness from reality. Like, he's a postmodernist because he's cracking definitions, but he genuinely believes that there's a cabal of, like, fucking Illuminati or some shit that is trying to make you believe that a pen is there when there isn't. And he would die for his, to preserve his, like, perception of reality. Because what else could it be? Like, why
what
would
else
he?
could it be?
Why would a simple pen trigger him so much? Unless the only logical conclusion I can draw is that he genuinely believes that there is a group of people who would try to convince him that either there is a pen or there isn't a pen, which does not like concur with reality. If that is the correct word, I don't know.
I mean, it's one thing to stand against hard solipsism in a conversation. It's another thing to do whatever he's doing, which is literally running from the
I will say
question.
cabal however many times I fucking want. Okay, sorry. You were saying?
The lore. It's so good. All right, back to the video. This is ridiculous.
That lying could save someone.
Yeah, and if you're steeped in sin, you're likely to live in circumstances like that.
I'll give you an example. If you're like in like Nazi Germany, and it is the case that there's like Jewish people in your attic, and you're trying to protect them, would you lie to like the Nazis?
I would have done everything I bloody well
Joe
could,
gets
so I
summoned,
wouldn't
Joe
be in
gets
that
summoned.
situation
Would you
to begin
lie?
with. It's a hypothetical, and it's
You
not
can't answer
answerable.
hypotheticals?
Is my nose Bleeding? I can't see out of one eye. Please, just go back to the question, guys. Or could we maybe just take a break for a second so I can lie down? I'm feeling a bit...
Who said I would do anything to not be in that
Yes, you
situation in the
If you
first
present
place?
me with an intractable
Yeah, he
moral
would have fled
choice that's
Nazi
stripped
Germany
of
before it was
context and
Nazi
you back
Germany,
me into a
because,
corner, you're
otherwise
playing a
steeped in
game.
sin.
I just told you I would do everything that I could to make sure that I'm never in that situation.
He's so unwilling to answer a basic question. It hurts.
It's like, if you get caught in some weird shit, that means you fucked up. That's what he's saying, right?
Pretty much.
So, like, is he getting to the point that if you follow God's beliefs, you would never even end up in a fucked up situation to believe in? To
begin with, yeah.
To begin with, yeah. So people who drank the Kool-Aid, well, they were just following a false god, I guess, right?
I have no idea what you're talking about, Spaniard, but sure.
No, don't know about Jonestown?
Jonestown, yeah.
Where
Guyana.
Yeah, they were like they're because they believed like it was a cult, right?
It was a cult, but they didn't believe it was a cult. They thought it was the real deal, and
yeah, they thought it was the real deal. So, but according to Peterson, if they believed in the real God, they wouldn't be there. But they thought they did believe in the real God, I'm guessing, to end up there.
Exactly. So, and that's the next question. Well, he never answered the question about belief in the first place. And so the next question would be, if you believe in this, how do you know that the juxtapose is wrong? Like, how do you know that your beliefs are justified and true? But we're not going to get there because he already ran.
Yeah, he's basically going in the opposite direction. Like, you want to get to the fucking engine. He's running headfirst into the caboose.
This is rough. Yeah, Jack actually did like a full live react to this, and
I saw like a part 9 of it, and I'm like, oh shit, this is still going on.
Yeah, it took him like 20-30 minutes per person that Peterson went up against. So like, I'm not gonna do that.
I respect it.
Yeah,
I respect the react. I respect the react content. I feel like that actually should be the way people react.
I mean,
like actually spend time fleshing out. Yeah.
Yeah, Spaniard, I honestly don't know what the hypothetical is that you're talking about, but I'm pretty sure it was apropos at the time, and maybe you didn't understand why it was apropos, and that's perfectly fine. I'm not going to hold you to that. But I don't think people run hypotheticals at you just to put you in a corner unless your logic is wrong to begin with, and it would have been wrong either direction. Unless we're asking, how would you feel if you didn't eat breakfast?
By the time you've got there, you've made so many mistakes that there's nothing you can do that isn't a sin.
Being born in Nazi Germany and trying to protect people that you care about, like there could be a Jewish friend that you have, and you want to protect.
How is staying in Germany a mistake?
That line of questioning.
Give up on just like trying to clarify your position. Because you don't like. Are you like uncomfortable with me asking this question? It's just a basic.
Told you it was going to happen.
It's just a basic hypothetical where you put Jews' lives at stake and not.
So right now, essentially, what Peterson is saying that we should all leave America because things are going to get really bad here.
Unless we're, fine with being steeped in sin when shit goes sideways, and us having to do things that may be considered amoral to protect ourselves or the people we love. Yeah. That seems to be the implication.
That because if I can foresee things getting real bad, then yeah, basically fuck it, and yeah, I'm a dick. That is the...
I mean, if you got to that point, Zephyr, it was because you were already so steeped in sin that you couldn't have done anything else. You were already doomed.
Why would the kid even go in the route of using a Nazi hypothetical in the first place?
Because
to prove a point?
Yeah, they literally proved a point. It was a perfect hypothetical. I would have used the same hypothetical. Just the fact that he didn't like the question because it exposed exactly what he was trying to do.
And is also Peterson trying to imply that you will never be, if you follow God, God will never put you in a position where you have to choose like the greater of two, or the lesser of two evils, or the greater of two goods, or some shit like that?
Well, to say that you're of such moral caliber that you would never lie is already ridiculous in the first place, and that's exactly what he was doing. So, like, to act like you're the moral arbiter in this case, and then when put to a situation of, hey, would you lie for this, to be unwilling to answer the question and make it such a ridiculous proposal in the first place is pretty disingenuous, in my opinion.
Yeah, and like we were talking about earlier, when we were like, when we were choosing like the lesser of two evils, or we have to lie to save someone else's life, and all that shit. Like, so Peterson is now saying that you wouldn't be in that position to begin with, but earlier he was saying things like, what do you mean by benefit? And we were discussing about, okay, in the short term it might be bad for me, but in the long term it might be good, so therefore I would likely follow it, or some shit. Now I'm like, will he? Because according to you, you shouldn't even be in that position to begin with.
By his logic.
Yeah, like you should not be you should not be asked to sacrifice anything by your God. Because if you are in that position where you're being asked to sacrifice either one of your morals or multiple of your morals for a perceived greater good, that means you've already failed.
Oh, and there's also a story in the Bible about a king that asked for favor in battle and told God that he would give up the first thing that he sees when he gets back from battle if he won. And the first thing that showed up was his daughter.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that? Your voice cut out on my end.
So essentially, a king said, you know, hey, God, if you let me win this battle, I'll sacrifice the first thing that I see when I get back home. And the first thing that he saw was the first thing that comes out of his home, and it happened to be his daughter.
I mean, he fucked up by asking God for it. If he was, he was steeped in sin the moment he asked God. The moment he prayed to God, he became steeped in sin.
Like, the logic is crazy.
That's the praying makes you a sinner, according to Jordan Peterson.
So back to Kermit the Peterson.
Life, but you're like not trying to answer this question for some reason.
I just told you why.
Are you anti-fascist?
Why are you asking that?
That was
a
dumb question.
Just clarifying.
Wait, so is he gonna save the Jews from the Nazis or not? Answer the question, Jordan. He scoffs at the idea that it's a basic hypothetical, except like a moment earlier.
Trying to protect them? Would you lie?
Yeah, you know the example because it's a basic hypothetical. Also, I have to point out that Jordan refuses to answer this hypothetical and emphatically, multiple times, claims he simply wouldn't find himself in that situation. Disgusting of you to even suggest.
Yes, Spaniard, that's what we've been saying. The root of the reason why you're in that position in the first place would be being born a German citizen in Germany. And if you did not just move before the things got to the point of you having to either protect people because you think it's the right thing to do or let them die, what are you going to do?
You know, I'm going to fucking challenge Peterson, or whatever Spaniard is saying, with Peterson's original meme. In order to think, you have to risk being offensive. Put two and two together. How can you challenge yourself unless you're willing to put yourself in a situation where you have to make hard decisions? But the fact that you put yourself in a hard decision is it makes you steeped in sin, according to him now.
Well, it wouldn't.
When
be
he originally came out and said,
it'd be a risk for the Jews that you allowed to get murked.
No, but Peterson is saying it's a risk for you. Like, you will go to eternal hell if, God wouldn't allow you to be in that position in the first place. Is what he's saying, right?
Well,
like, I wouldn't be in the position in the first place.
In heaven, hell, God, any of it. He never admitted to any of that. So to try to pin that on him is another thing that he's fortifying up.
That's fair.
And he's going to run from.
But the point stands that in order to like think or make yourself better or do whatever,
Spaniard
you
did it
have to
before
put yourself in
Peterson could do
challenging
it.
conditions. Yeah, but the fact that you're risking it is, according to Peterson, already like causing some issue in your morality. Like, you shouldn't be there in the first place. You start somewhere, and then you just end up as one of the greatest human beings ever alive, without challenging yourself, without having to make hard calls, without having to make tough decisions, without challenging your morality or your foundational values or anything like that.
That's a good question, Fister. Bill Peterson didn't say it because he would just run from it immediately. He would never answer the question. I guarantee it. Start the part.
Obviously, like, we're extrapolating because Peterson literally doesn't say anything. Like, besides making fun of Peterson, there's no content here. Like, we have to extrapolate what he actually means. So I like how Spaniard, when I interpret Peterson in the way that he agrees with me, he's saying, oh yeah, I agree with the guy who's with Kai. And the moment I challenge him, now he's like, oh, he's just adding stuff on. Great work, Spaniard. Yep. Definitely showed your intellectual prowess there.
Again, doing battle with Peterson is...
because I was adding stuff before, but I was agreeing with Spaniard, so then I'm right.
There are challenges in life, and our moral framework becomes the battleground of those challenges when you're Jordan Peterson.
I think waking up from the bed is a challenge.
I get my students, I said, look, true. I've told them this for 30 years. Here's something you have to understand. If you were in Nazi Germany, the statistical probability is overwhelming that you would have been a perpetrator. Right? You think you would have rescued Anne Frank. It's like, think again. Those people are very, 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 very rare. They put their lives on the line to do that. They put their families' lives on the line to do that. You think you're one of those people? Really? It's like that. All that means is that you know nothing. You know nothing about yourself. You know nothing about people. You know nothing about politics or economics or history. It's a harsh lesson.
You know nothing, huh? Interesting. That's from one of the many, many times he's asserted that if you lived in Nazi Germany, you would have been a Nazi. For 30 years, he told his students that. And yet here he is, vomiting with rage that this young, calm guy is asking if he would hypothetically not be a Nazi. Very odd that you don't answer the question about whether or not you would lie to save a family from the Holocaust, or whether or not you're an anti-fascist. You seem to not understand hypothetical questions, which, according to racists on 4chan, is a sign of low intelligence. Who am I? Why am I in this suit? Where did this beard come from? What day specifically did this beard come from? Everything smells like Zelda. Why does it smell like Zelda and fear and vinegar in here? Anyway, I hope that answered the question of whether or not Jordan Peterson believes in an all-knowing and all-powerful God. But in case you're still confused, here's another clip that will clear it up.
So what I'm specifically pointing out here is about religion in particular, since you yourself are a Christian, right?
That's, people debate about that, and I generally don't discuss it publicly.
Sorry, wrong clip. I just had to point out that here this man is berating these 20 people and telling them they believe in God. And whenever he's asked if he believes in God, he's like, well, I'll never tell. Although, to be fair to him, that was about being specifically a Christian, which we'll get to, not just believing in God. So do we have a clip of Jordan Peterson straight up calling God fictional?
We characterize that using fiction, because fiction is the abstraction of hierarchies of attentional prioritization and action. And so we could say that in the highest sense, in the biblical corpus, God is the ultimate fictional character. And then we're trying to characterize his nature as that which should be emulated, that unites us psychologically and socially.
As YouTuber Alex O'Connor has pointed out, that's what atheists believe. You should be surrounding yourself, Jordan. God is fictional and aspirational. Weird that he admitted it only that one time and then has to play games about his beliefs while convincing everyone that they actually believe in God and are Christians or whatever. I wonder why that is. Anyway, here's one more clip for you to suck on.
Obviously, you don't want your
disproving yourself using your old clips.
It's good for stupid people.
Disproving yourself using your old clips is like the best cooking of all time.
Oh, for real. This is like Benihana level grill work. And he is the chef and he is what's on the grill at the same time.
No, Sam Harris is chef.
All right, run it.
Because one of the things we do,
I'm giving you the opportunity again to put this foot in your mouth.
But I would say not only. I mean, the thing is that we're all stupid, and some of us are far stupider than others. I don't go to church, but there is one thing I admire about the church, and that is that it's managed to serve as a repository for these fundamental underlying fictions for 2 millennia.
So isn't that what I said to begin with? If he would just run with that, I wouldn't have a problem with him.
And that's what I also said in the beginning.
So we
why are you stealing my lines? Yeah, we agreed.
But he just
don't latch your beliefs about spirituality to Christianity, and then there's a cohesive line. All the problems arise because he wants to specifically latch himself onto Christianity and take on the baggage.
Fister, can I request some art from you? Jordan Peterson jumping over a shark. Because that's what this is. He literally jumps the shark by the time he gets to this 1v20. Homie sniffing his own farts is rough. Oh, anytime you want to, Spander, you're always welcome here. Let me know if you need me to send you an invite or anything like that. I'm sure Zephyr would also enjoy the conversation. Appreciate it, Fister. Oh, we're watching Jordan Peterson versus 20 Atheists. Oh, cartoon. Like, if you could do a caricature version of it, that would make it even more hilarious. And don't forget to add the lobster.
Yeah, and that's really something bloody unbelievable.
Okay, so no, he doesn't believe in God. That was way easier than talking about Nazi Germany. He specifically thinks that religion is fiction, but that it's good for stupid people. It has utility, and in that sense, he thinks it's like literarily true.
Oh, Zephyr, you've got a formal challenge.
Oh, shit.
You got a formal challenge.
What's the topic? He's just a Dune topic.
I'll be right. Oh, well, I don't remember exactly what that was, but I did moderate it, and I don't think he won.
You should have streamed it, first off. Second off, is it the same topic? Because you're going to get crushed.
It's about the pool of life.
It's about the pool. Oh, same topic. Okay.
So I'm going to let this play. I'm going to use the restroom. Be right back.
True, but not literally true. Peterson does like encouraging religion, but isn't religious himself. And people have called him out on that.
The way you talk
I'm
about
here,
God
so this is not a chair stream.
Has convinced
For any person who's watching and wants to report the stream, I will react to it. I am reacting to it.
It's fine to hold on to this old sort of God, this God that can hear prayers and that can intervene or not in the lives of human beings. My concern is that you could do exactly what you do with religion with astrology, right? It would be no more legitimate to obfuscate the boundary between clear thinking and superstition there.
This guy named Sam Harris, who we're not going to talk about, hones in on Peterson pushing the classic all-powerful version of God. Peterson doesn't deny that he does this, but rather justifies it.
Now, when we look back on the astrologers and we view their contributions to the history of the world with
Bearded Peterson was
we
the
should
goat.
also remember that the people who
Way he shaved
built
when he shaved his
Stonehenge,
beard.
for example, and the first
Basically, his
people
brain
who
fell out.
determined that our fates
Are you
were
serious?
in part written in the stars.
Hey, Alex, I'm pretty sure they'd be more than happy to have you in that conversation as well. This was my argument when I talked to Counterpoints was we can, in understanding that morality is an evolving idea in the way we utilize it in society, using comic books is probably better. And we have fundamental stories in comic books. Like Superman would be like a great figure to use for these things. Like the idea of the symbol of hope, the idea of self-sacrifice, all these things are encapsulated in comic books and have been in the American mindset for so long that when you see Superman, we don't even care what the origin story or anything is anymore. We already know what it is. You don't have to explain it. And if these ideas survive long enough, I think they're a viable alternative to using religious stories while not having to tack on the murky moral portions of the Bible itself. Like, we understand that Superman or these other comic book figures are fallible beings, and if they make a bad decision, you can judge that without having to imply some, otherworldly intelligence behind it.
My problem with sort of delineating, sorry, sometimes I struggle with words, with delineating morality is always that morality is not only ever evolving, it is dependent on the situation. So if you're trying to lay the groundwork and essentially come up with a system to organize moral thoughts, essentially give a flow chart of, hey, if this is the reason why you're choosing to do X, then you are correct. But if you're doing X for another reason, then you might be wrong or some shit. But that doesn't really convey it. There's like an infinite network of possible situations that you can end up with.
Well, that's why the trolley problems are a better ground for this than trying to establish one framework of morality. And that's kind of what I was saying about the comic books. We can look at these characters and say, hey, we find what they did to be a moral wrong. Superman was an asshole here, or Batman shouldn't have let the Joker live. Batman's an asshole here. We can look at this and we can make these assessments.
No, what I'm saying is that however many stories you come up with, that will never cover the realm of possible like questions that you face in life. Like, your context might be, the context when you are making a decision might be different to the context that someone else is making a decision. For example, if I told you in a trolley problem type of way, would you rather kill one person or 5 people? Like, most people are going to say, I'd kill the one person. But if it's like there's 5 Hitlers on one side and one Einstein on the other side.
Well, that's context.
Right. But then that context could basically change infinitely. And those moral versions or the moral weights could change infinitely. Like, what if there's there's 5 horrible mothers on one side and just like a random person on the other side, right? Some people might say, oh, even though my mother was horrible, I ended up here. They might choose to kill the one person. Some people might say, oh yeah, my mother is the reason why everything is shitty in my life. You know what? I don't want 5 other children to end up with a life like mine. I'll kill them.
Yeah, but that's also the beauty of the comic book. You get the context. You have a concrete storyline.
But won't the comic book give? Yeah, but won't the comic book would try to give a definitive answer?
No, not necessarily.
Like, how would you? So in one comic book, it would be like, oh, Batman actually saved the mothers, but Superman killed the mothers or some shit.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying.
You're supposed to decide whether you want to be Batman or Superman.
I'm saying they shouldn't be moral arbiters of what morality is. We can look at these stories and view them as moral or immoral based on the context of what we're getting without tying this to a supernatural intelligence that can't do wrong.
But then why do you even need comic books? Why isn't the Bible or existing books sufficient for that?
Because we have,
if you're gonna invoke some externality to make the decision regardless.
No, these are just stories to give you like a framework or an idea of what we view this thing to be.
Right.
What's good, Berlin? Hope you're doing well. So what a story from, a comic that we would think would be moral in the first place, 10 years later, we may think it's not. But we can question that. We can look at it from an objective viewpoint without tying that to the idea of an all-knowing, always right, all good being. And I think the same thing kind of works for the Bible if we were to remove the idea, but I don't think everybody that reads these stories can disassociate themselves from the idea that it comes from a God. And it's the people that can't that create the questions that we have about it, if you get what I'm saying.
So here's my thing. I don't think that the only purpose of the God is help you create moral choices. I think one of the purposes of a God is that, like, to provide you with some comfort in times of like hardships, right? Like during depression or like what parents dying or something, like to have. I'm not saying that everybody should follow God. I'm saying that for some people that is what works. And the idea of an all-knowing, all-powerful being to some extent can give you solace in the fact, like if you believe in them, in the fact that you know what, whatever happens for a reason, because the all-knowing, all-powerful God has something planned for me, I guess. So he's putting me through these hardships. And most people would struggle to get to that kind of mental state without the idea of a God. I say most, like I'm kind of dipping it down, but yeah, people go through hard times, and I guess believing in like an ultimately satisfactory future probably gives them the fortitude to keep driving or keep going down that path, or not keep going down that path, but like going through that hardship.
But do you think believing that for irrational reasons is the best way to go about it?
I would say in sometimes like rationality could become secondary. Like if you're like if I were to go to a fully like extreme scenario, like if you're on the top of a bridge and you're thinking about jumping, like I don't care about rationality at that point. I'm like, what can save this person? And if a belief in God for whatever reason can end up saving that life, I'd be like, fuck it, yeah, like just throw God at him, just prevent him from committing suicide or some shit. Like we can think about rationality after. And that person might go on. There is a chance that that person might go on to become like a priest or like become like give sermons or some bullshit and like convert other people. But you're like, hey, in that moment, I had to make a decision to save that one life, and I used whatever tools I could to save him. And now turns out that he's he's doing what I didn't want to happen. But
speaking of, did you ever hear this anime/manga called Monster?
No.
So this like hotshot surgeon, like best surgeon in Japan, gets hit with a choice. Like, hey, you're supposed to operate on this kid that has a terminal issue, but at the same time, there's a politician. I'm spoiling it. It's too late. I have to spoil it. There's a politician that, needs your help. So you're going to have to let this kid go and save this politician. So the doctor says, you know what, I'm going to stand by my morals. I'm going to save this child because, I'm not going to let money tell me what to do. And this kid grows up to be a prolific serial killer that proceeds to follow him and haunt him.
Yeah, and you can't say that now in your scenario, like imagine if he made that decision based off of a Superman or Batman comic. You can't say that, oh, I made a mistake. Like even Superman makes mistakes. But here, I guess the difference is that here there's like a person, like someone else who's committing the crime, right? It's not you yourself. But if like saving that child led someone to, turns out that the politician is his mother or some shit. Right, and he went into depression because of that. Like, I could have saved my mom, but I couldn't. Right, then what does he do? Is he going to take his moral advice from Superman or Batman, or would it be better for him to think about, hey, to take solace in the fact that, hey, God has some other plans for me, I guess. At least she's in heaven, or something along those lines.
Brightburn was a little different, Alex. Brightburn was more so if Superman was actually evil. But that's another thing that we can go over. Like, we've also looked at stories from Elseworlds where, like, Superman was born in Russia and the values that he had were entirely different. Like, we can go down those paths. But that's what I'm saying. You don't have to look at the comic book stories as moral absolutes, is what I'm saying. But people look at the biblical stories as moral absolutes. And the same thing you're saying, like, oh, well, you can have hope because you are aware of the idea that there's some deity, so on and so forth. But at the same time, is that a good reason to be making decisions?
My issue is not with the what they're reading part. My issue is the moral absolute part. Like, if you take even comics as a moral absolute, that is also wrong. So it doesn't matter if you use the comic as what I'm saying is, doesn't matter if you're using comics as your moral guide or the Bible as your moral guide. It's, in my opinion, it's wrong if you use that as some kind of objective morality without taking context into consideration.
Yeah, but I'm saying the comic books also give context. The Bible gives context. It's just, even with that context, you get some pretty horrible ideas coming through. And some people can't disassociate that from coming from a higher mindset that's infallible. If you get what I'm saying.
I get it, and I guess it's
like if I
we're at a point where it's kind of,
if I believe that Stan Lee knew everything and was always right, then the stories of Spider-Man, I have to do what Peter Parker would have done, or else I'm going to hell. Whereas I can look at this and it's not objective. And I can say, you know, when I read it as a kid, I thought that was a good decision. And then looking back at it later, yeah, no, it definitely wasn't a good decision. And it's not going to harm anything, but I can see good values and good morals and good ideas and see if they are bad morals or bad ideas.
I guess a lot of it is like taking the modern context of comics into account. Like, we know that there's different storylines. We know that if a character made a different choice, like for example, the Black Spider-Man suit and Venom and like all that corruption, like we know what comic book storylines are, but we cannot control if in the future somebody tries to use the Black Spider-Man as the main book and like kind of basically say that the other books are like heathens or whatever the fuck, and tries to burn them all, right? So a lot of the context that you're saying is also including the way we interpret comic books right now, which is not always a guarantee that would happen like hundreds of years down the road.
Absolutely. And then we also get like storylines, well, what if, like in What If comics, what if, you know, instead of this person doing this, this person did this, or they made an entirely different decision. You can get a bearing on that, and I think it's interesting and useful. Take it at
I don't know what else to respond to it except that I don't see like a massive change between the two ideas, like using the comic book as your holy book. Like, my only concern was like that there's some context in which I think that having a formless deity, an all-knowing, all-powerful deity who can see the future, is perhaps beneficial. Especially if you think that this all-knowing being is working overtime to help you out personally.
See, Zephyr, I have a perfect run right now, and I'm probably going to lose.
Because I'm here?
No, I got play only one hand. So if I don't get 11K in this one hand, I lose.
Let's calculate it. It's 2 aces, 2 and 3 kings. So you get 22 from the aces, 30 from the kings, 52. 52 times 4, that's 260. And then what multipliers do you have?
134, 16. Yeah, 134 and 16. So 150.
134 and 16?
Yeah.
So that's 150 plus the 4 that you have.
So it's also a 10 molt on the trouser itself. So it's 26 on that. So 160.
So 160 plus 4, so 164. So 52 times 164. Gotta type that into Google. 52 times 164 is 8,528. So unless you're missing out on a multiplier or something, then this is 8,500 and not 11K.
15. I got it.
Nice.
That's crazy.
So it was 166 multiplier.
So it seems. Ooh, do I want to sell one of these eggs? That's a question. I might want to sell that egg. I'm gonna leave that alone. Playing the video. It is freaking addictive. I don't recommend anybody play it.
Don't play it. This game will let you down, will crush your soul.
Astrological beliefs were
I've been playing this game for a month and I haven't completed a single run. And not only that, the game itself is soul crushing. Then you get fucking Lethe on top of that in your DMs. Oh, and then in fucking streams that, oh, I'm on a perfect run right now. Watch this.
And that really is a tremendous problem. You see that arise also in people who have religious delusions,
I curse all of Mongolia because of
depressive disorder or schizophrenia.
It's already cursed.
But so much of what eventually manifests itself as hardcore pragmatic scientific belief has its origin in wild flights of poetic fantasy.
So his point is that while he personally doesn't believe in religion, it seems, he does think that religious belief is good for the stupid masses of dumb idiots to embrace because it's got simple rules to live by. And they'll, like, come to science eventually, I guess, because the people who built Stonehenge believed in fantasy, but also thought the stars were relevant, which in some ways they are. Or whatever. Sure. You know, I'm not going to dig into that. I'm not going to dig into religion. I'm so tired. I just wanted to establish that Jordan Peterson doesn't believe in God in the way that people other than him would define God or believe or in or all the other words. These clips from Surrounded show that Peterson is, objectively, being disingenuous about his religious beliefs for the sake of a larger goal. He's this stuffy intellectual who wants to pretend to lead by example because he thinks it's good to promote religion, even though he himself doesn't need religion. And this is important because from here on, we know this now. We know that every clip we've watched is Peterson being a squirrely liar trying to squirm around that fact. That's why he won't directly answer any question, because he knows the people he's trying to reach won't like the answer. Man, we are not even halfway through this Surrounded video. But we have to take a break, and I need to go outside and call my parents, so, you know, watch these ads. Are you ever...
Skipping
Hey, we're back! Parents didn't want to talk and kept saying I was, quote, a bummer. We're apparently doing a Jordan Peterson episode, although I don't know why we do that, and frankly, I can't remember anything for more than 30 seconds right now. It's like my brain is trying to protect me from something. But from what I've been told, we've established that Jordan Peterson absolutely isn't a Christian, seems to think religion is good for stupid people, and then went on a Surrounded video to debate atheists and clearly had to tap dance around in order to seem like he was religious to pander to his audience. And because we know all of that, we can use this video to see exactly what tactics Jordan uses to lie and squirm. But it turns out that his bag of tricks isn't very deep, because so far he's mainly just fallen back on litigating the exact definitions of words, inventing new definitions that nobody uses, debating those definitions, and exhausting everyone until the clock runs out. Literally. There's a timer component to these Surrounded videos, because all the best and most productive conversations work the same as supermarket sweep. But again, it's perfect for Jordan Peterson.
Just when you get something
He's
from
the
the fridge.
supermarket sweep of philosophers, after all. And this is where we get to his next big claim, which might be my favorite of them all.
My next claim is that everybody worships something, including atheists, even though...
He's making a big claim, and this is contingent on definitions. What do you mean worship? You already know he's going to be super squirrely on this one. Ooh. Do I want to do that?
I worship your mom's ass. A thick boy.
Let's see how he squirms through this one.
No, they might not know it.
Oh, it's beautiful. Art even.
It's a
the
huge
vagueness.
claim.
The instant setup for wordplay. Wonderful, frustrating claim, sir. They are about to debate this claim for 20 minutes of the video, which is grotesque. I can voice a rebuttal to his claim in just one word. Are you ready for it? Let's play the clip again so I can reply.
My next claim is that everybody worships something, including atheists, even though they might not know it.
Sure. That's the rebuttal. You could also go with, okay. Either one works because, yeah, sure, fine even. People worship things. Star Wars, spouses, their perfect little dog who recently hurt her back sneezing because she's the cutest little lady in the world and she's so sweet and she'll be okay. I guess I'm not sure how saying that everybody worships something is a checkmate atheists type of moment. The fact that people worship things doesn't prove or disprove the existence of God or the validity of Christianity. It might redefine God and obscure what this debate was supposed to be about, but it doesn't do much else. But because this is a debate show, everyone is about to run to the chair and get into just the most annoying conversations about the definition of the word worship. No one can just say, who cares? Or so what? Even though that's the actual response here. Also, did I mention that they have to literally run to the chair and be the first one there to get to debate? Surrounded makes you run to the chair. Again, like supermarket sweep. What does physical speed have to do with your ability to debate? I guess if you're disabled with limited mobility, you can't be on this show. The show is silly is my point. But again, that's why it's perfect for Jordan Peterson, the guy who doesn't actually believe in Christianity the way most people do and needs to hide that. He wants to run out the clock with a big confusing conversation on a big confusing show.
Was disabled
His
shaming
own little
Jubilee?
Lewis Carroll word maze to pass the time. And yet, what's extremely funny is that he somehow, incredibly, ends up losing that game.
How do you define worship?
Prioritize.
Prioritize. So almost like having a preference over something rather than the other.
It's a hierarchy of preferences.
Yeah.
And you use it to direct your attention.
Okay, not what worship means, but okay. We have our definition. And again, sure, people do prioritize things over other things. This isn't a revelation.
I'm not getting 30K
Atheists,
off this.
despite not believing in
It was a
God,
good run.
still prioritize
What's good,
things.
Testy?
So,
So close.
I prioritize water over candy.
We're just talking
Does that
about
mean
squirrels.
I worship water? I prioritize pink starbursts over yellow ones. Do I worship pink starbursts? Is he saying that anything we prioritize, even lastly, is something we worship? Let's ask.
So at what point is it worship? Because it sounds like you're saying worship is almost a spectrum, right? Or it's not a binary. It's not a.
It's kind of like, that's a good question.
When
It's
is
like
when is it worship as opposed to just I love my wife?
the closer you get
Good
to
to
the
see
top or the bottom, the more it's like, it's more
Watching
like
Kermit the
close to the
Peterson
top.
hop
You see
around
how
from
easy it
lily pad
is
to
to get
lily pad.
lost in all of this. This has nothing to do with Christianity or
Cool
religion.
beans.
They're just talking about what Jordan Peterson
Thank you, Ice
thinks the
Beans.
concept of worship is. And I guess he thinks that worship
my
is
monitor
when
is
something
super
is at the
long.
very top or at the very bottom of our hierarchy of priorities. Fine. Sure.
Welcome, Raiders.
Fine. But as this guy is inquiring, it seems like there's a cutoff there.
Thank you for
There's a
subbing,
line
Testy.
where something goes from
Good to
being
see
a
you, as
priority
always.
to a worship. So what does Peterson say about that?
I don't think I worship anything. And if you're saying I have to hit a certain threshold for it to be worship, it is possible I don't worship anything then, right?
it's not possible that you don't worship anything.
What do I worship?
Because you wouldn't attend. Well, love.
So you think I
apparently.
worship love?
Do you attend in consequence of love?
I
See,
do.
I'm trying to define something. What do you mean worship? I told you what I meant. What do you mean?
Hey, you lost. You lost your own word game, Pete. As this guy points out, in this weird semantics debate, that if worship is when you cross a threshold of priorities, then not everybody necessarily worships something. He set up his own weird rules in his own weird game and lost.
Yeah, you can love and prioritize your wife, your children, your job, your car. It doesn't mean you worship it, but to make this broad definition of worship, he's already defeating his own argument. And then he's going to run away again, because that's exactly what he does. He makes a broad claim, and then when people start drilling down on it and it doesn't mean what he wants it to mean, he runs away from the definition.
Also, never worship your car. Might be Ferrari. Just it'll never give you the love a woman could. Or a man.
I mean, how do you know for sure?
I've tried.
But what if your car will love you more?
It doesn't.
I mean, you can get
I've tried,
warmth,
man.
you can get air conditioning, you can get heated seats. That could be more than a relationship ever gives you.
Where do you put your dick in?
That's a matter of choice. Yeah, by all means, Alex. I didn't know you wanted it.
There's no pore in the car where you can put it in and hope to get love out of it.
Okay, Zephyr. Just a real quick Doom question. Are we going to limit the debate? Are we okay? So I need to know the scope of this. All right. Are we going to limit the debate?
This isn't a debate, okay? This is my own personal subjective experience. I've tried, okay? And you said you had a question.
I'm gonna moderate
question.
between you two. I'm gonna let you two go at it, but then I want to know how far you guys want to. You want to go Dune Encyclopedia? You want to go to the original book? You guys want to go to the alternate versions of the movie?
No, so Myopic thinks that the book version, that the movie version is an insult to the books. And I'm like, I don't care. I've only watched the movie. The movie is consistent. It has good messages. It has good messaging, and it gets whatever its thoughts are across to the audience. We should not be comparing the movie to the book as long as it meets certain criteria, and those criteria have like a way lower threshold than people would have you believe. That's my whole point. And then he says, "Oh, but they did not do the pools in the movie that well." And I'm like, I don't care. Do they work in the movie? That's all I care about. That's what the debate is going to be.
Maybe I should debate his ass because you ain't even read the books. Damn.
Yeah, that's the whole debate. That's literally the whole debate.
Dude, I couldn't debate you because it'd be like beating up on a 3-year-old. God damn it.
I will compare what's in the movie to what's in the rest of the movie. I'm not going to compare what's in the movie to the book.
But which movie?
The Dune movie, the ones that came out, the Denis Villeneuve movies.
Actually, no. There was a couple of different modified versions of the old movie that came out, and then there was the TV series, and then
I'm talking about the Denis Villeneuve movies, the ones that came out in 2021 and 2024.
Sorry, you got ads.
Oh.
I need to just go ahead and remove the ads.
That's all right. That's cool because I'll still moderate in there between you two on that day. I just
you sound extremely biased towards the book, so I don't know if you'll be a good moderator.
Oh no! Actually, I'm extremely biased to the entire story. I am and this is going to kill a whole.
You seem extremely biased towards the books.
Actually, yes and no. The original movie I really liked, but then they fucked it all up like 4 times until they did the Spice Diver version, which was a fan film that they couldn't allow to be released in the US, so it could only be released in Germany. And then it came back on archive.org. I did like the miniseries. I was okay with the newer movies. The books I do like, but I also like the ones that didn't get made, like the Jabberwowski version, or whatever the fuck his name was, which is only just a film book that was made. And then Dune Encyclopedia, the whole blah, blah, blah thing about that one not being original from him, and he just...
Aberlin, you got to ask yourself, when you actually win that debate in that instance, how good does it feel? This is a W for Zephyr. This is a W for Zephyr. I haven't read the books, but I'm going to argue, and I'm also going to win.
I don't even care about the books. I'm going to compare what's in the movie to what's in the rest of the movie.
Yeah, but you got to go watch the other movies because you have to watch all 3 of them, and I'll send you the link so you can watch all of them, so you'll be able to.
I'll watch them, but I'll only consider when I'm talking about the Denis Villeneuve movies. I'm only going to consider what's in the Denis Villeneuve movies, not in what was in 1984 with Sting in that.
Well, yeah, the De Laurentiis version, but what about the miniseries?
Again, I'm only going to consider the Denis Villeneuve movies.
Okay, no worries. Hey, no, I'm just wondering because I just want to know. Just I'm gonna be in there just trying to corral these 2 cats.
There you go, Orca. Do you want to debate about Dune?
Oh, this is gonna be so much fun. Oh, we got another one. Oh,
well, he said what's Dune. I think that gives him just about as much chance in winning this debate as anybody else at this point.
Be so much fun. Yeah, I just had to jump in because I'm in the middle of doing something, but dude, I had to jump in as soon as y'all said, and then Myopic was like, I was like, oh, fucking okay.
It's on and cracking. Let's go.
I was like, all right, I'm a Dune fan on crack. I got all the books and the movies and everything, bootleg copies.
You can point me to 69 different things for why
that's a
the
very
pools
specific
in the books. Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, 70 is too much. So you can point to any number of things for why the pools in the book are better than the pools in the movie. I don't care because I'm comparing the pools in the movie in the context of the movie. I don't care about what happens with the pools after a certain point.
Okay, cool. I just want to. Oh, this is gonna be so much fun. I haven't had fun like this in a topic in a while, and thank you. This is gonna be so much fun.
He's so psyched.
Fuck yeah, dude! As soon as you guys said Dune, arguments, and Myopic, I was like, oh.
I don't even know what the topic of the debate was. All I told him was I like the pools in the movie. Like they serve their purpose.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, pretty much. No, it's Dune, dude. Dune has, this shit's been being argued over since the 60s and the 70s and the 80s. And fucking, this is a forever argument on it. Was he prescient or not? Was it, this is just an allegory on the current affairs of oil and blah, blah, cocaine and blah, blah. Fuck that. This is arguments that have been going on, but these are the only ones that I find that are fun. All the rest of them just turn into screaming matches.
Oh, this is going to turn, I mean, no, it's absolutely.
Wait. I need to ask a question.
Yes. Ask me.
Do you even have a Lego ornithopter?
Actually, no. I have the.
Okay, so you lose. I have a Lego ornithopter, so I'm automatically better, more informed about Dune than you.
No, you're fucking not. And if you just wait,
do you have I'm going to repeat. Do you have a Lego ornithopter?
I have 3 Lego ornithopters.
You don't. You're lying.
I do. Some of my bits. All right, fuck, man. I'm in my goddamn sun.
Oh, it's on.
All right, I'm gonna turn on the goddamn light. All right, I'm gonna turn on the light, you little some bitch. All right, here you go. All right, here we go. Okay, I'm gonna turn this one on.
I gotta share the screen.
Fuck. No, it don't matter. Wait, I don't even know my camera turned on.
Yep.
Okay, wait. Let me turn this motherfucker around so you can see it. Sorry, yeah. Oh fuck. Okay. Do you see this? Can you see it?
That's not Lego, and that's not an ornithopter.
Shai Hulud building block toys, ornithopters and Shai Hulud. Ornithopters there.
Weak sauce.
Oh, get the fuck out of here, dude!
I have a $150 Lego ornithopter.
Well, dude, this has got this. But where's the worm? Where is your worm? You have a worm?
Yeah, I do have a worm actually.
Which one?
It's right on my dick, right here.
Fuck you, you fucking. Hey, you fucker.
Eat and everything.
What do you do? Put the ornithopter on your belly button and shit and try to eat it with the worm? Get the fuck. I'm sorry, Leaf.
The ornithopter's too big, damn it. It's $250. Don't you get it?
Hell yeah. Anyway, okay, this one. I can't see, man. I can't see my shit. Fuck. Here, anyway. Yeah, my goddamn stuff ain't. Oh, there it is.
Except for crashing out.
Yeah.
Hasn't spent any time. Like, he hasn't even built that worm, by the way. It's still in the box.
Motherfucker, I have a life. You understand? I mean, I know I'm retired and shit, but I got a lot of other
Oh,
shit.
I got the DVD. I never actually watched the movie. That's what you sound like.
Oh, this motherfucker. Okay, it's gonna be a debate between me,
I
you,
got
and
a $250
I'm moderating a
Lego
three-way debate
ornithopter
now.
and then built it.
Dude,
And then also watched the movie.
All right, okay, all right. Goddamn, I'm. Okay, all right.
I think he got it
Okay.
checked, and I don't think he cares.
Yeah, no shit.
Oh my
This
goodness.
motherfucker.
I wasn't ready for this.
Yeah, no, goddamn. Oh, my fucking camera started to fail. I don't know why it did that.
All right. Are we going to get through this Jordan Peterson thing? We doing this?
Do we want to?
Oh, yeah, go ahead. Yeah, because I'll find Zephyr online. And I'll just
Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait to host this.
Yeah, I can't
It's
either.
personal
It's gonna be so
now.
much fun. Yeah, fuck yeah, it is. Had to bring up the goddamn Lego. Dude. Sorry, Lego eating motherfucker. All right, goddamn, I'm sorry. Dude.
In the hierarchy of proving yourself, it goes Lego, then book, then movie.
No, fuck
So
that.
if you build the Lego for something, then you're automatically an expert.
Read the books, get a tattoo that has to do with the fucking Muad'Dib on your fucking calf, in a version of it. That means you're a true fan. Until you get a tattoo, you're just not. Just saying. Commit.
I already told you I have a worm on my dick. Like, what more do you want?
I want the worm to chase the mouse. No. Sorry. Okay, let me go back to fucking
This
cleaning
was
for my wife.
inevitable.
Oh, this was.
Yeah, if you believe
whatever.
it, you should stake your life on it.
Oh, fuck yeah, I'm willing. Dude, I'm worth way more dead than I am alive.
I already built a Lego ornithopter. Like, I genuinely already staked my life on it. What more do you want? In the hierarchy of worship to a particular franchise, it goes Lego, then dying, then books, then movie.
It goes mouse tattoo with a knife on your leg, books, movie, books, movie, then Legos.
Nah, Lego's top, bro.
Nah, I'm gonna die on that hill.
He believes it.
Dude, with this, how much do you believe in it?
I'm willing to reinvade fucking Iraq and do like some major war crimes for that book.
You'd have done that for a fucking peanut butter and jelly.
I know, but I'm just saying, this time I believe in it. Last time I just did it for a paycheck. This time I'd actually believe in this shit. Lisa Nagaib! Lisa Nagaib! Well, yeah.
We'll go back to the desert. I mean,
I'm sorry, and you got raided, so there's a whole bunch of people that are like, what the fuck is this shit?
Nobody was ready for this. I wasn't even ready for this, and I've been here.
Yeah, no shit.
This time they do, because Alex said so.
Oh, this is so much fun. Okay, I gotta go finish fucking cleaning up for my wife.
All right, do your thing, my dude. Thanks for
All right,
coming.
guys. Aloha. Thanks, Zephyr.
Aloha.
I will see you in a week and a half. And my opposite. Aloha.
I'll let you guys know when this is scheduled. Well,
who's going to tell Alex that Myopic's week and a half means like 6 years?
Well, that and however long it takes for him to completely excise all the gluten from his body.
Yeah, so 6 years.
Give or take. All right, running the video.
So he panics, sputters, asks the guy what he thinks it means, and then goes back on the thing he just said a moment ago.
See, you're making the assumption. You're making the assumption that only the thing at the top or the bottom has anything to do with worship. And I'm saying that's not true. It's a hierarchy of prioritization.
Motherfucker, you just said that it was about the bottom or the top. We just heard you say it. Here's the clip.
Worship is almost a spectrum, right? It's not a binary. It's not a.
It's kind of like that's a good question.
When is it worship as opposed to just I love my wife?
The closer you get to the top or the bottom, the more it's more like
how
worship.
Close to the top.
At some point, the horror has to dawn on you that the point Jordan Peterson is making is that everyone likes stuff and has one or a few things they like the most. That's really it.
Gluten is some of
He's
our
using
friends,
slightly
not
bigger
everybody's
words
friend.
and tangling it up in a philosophical tone, but he's saying that everyone likes things. And people like some things more than other things. And I guess because everyone likes stuff, that means that atheists are actually religious. Again, they debate this claim for 20 minutes. Just a group of people arguing over the definition of a word. Maybe we shouldn't have to debate something like this. It's not really worth debating. Or to quote a great mind,
I get the feeling that Jordan Peterson would not
people are
die
stupid about things
for
doesn't mean
the
that their
definition of the
opinion
word
is valid.
worship.
Thank you. Great point. See, this
He
is the
hasn't found a
power
hill
that
he's willing to
Peterson
die on yet in
absolutely
this
has.
conversation.
He knows words. He's a word knower guy. This is why a lot of people find him to be smart, until you really start to think about what he's actually saying or look even a little into the validity of his claims. He's very good at this. It's his true talent. He is a bullshitter. He throws out a big ball of words and forces you to untangle them, only to realize they are meaningless. There's just a turd in that ball. And by the time you realize it, he's gone. I mean, here I am doing that. I'm doing this video instead of a video about a real problem in the world, or like cleaning. Probably not cleaning. I mean, I could be playing Minecraft, actually, or making food in the game Valheim, or making spicy food in Dune Awakening. But I'm here instead. And in a debate form, this is very effective. We're too busy pointing out how his definitions of words are wrong to address the larger and also bad point he's making, or realize that he's just trying to squirm around a truth, or see that he's taking our wallet or whatever thing he wants to pull.
Dune has been
He
mentioned.
didn't even get to
We must
Peterson's
pause the
final
video
claim, which was that,
and get
quote,
Alex in again.
atheists accept
He's too
Christian
busy
morality,
cleaning. Let the man
but deny the religion's foundational stories. Again,
keep my movie out your mouth.
Like, people accept the morality of Lord of the Rings, but that doesn't mean they have to accept it as truth. It doesn't matter.
Oh, hey, he's saying the thing I was saying to you earlier. You can accept the morality of Lord of the Rings, but you don't have to accept it as truth. And I lose again. Damn it, I hate this game.
Matter. Oh, well, Lord of the Rings stems from Christian morality. It doesn't matter. Denying that stories happened in real life doesn't mean one is denying the value or meaning of a story or a moral
If we started
lesson.
accepting Lord of the
And
Rings
course,
as morality, at
as you
least
can probably
gay sex would
guess,
be way more
his
acceptable.
definition of Christian morality is so broad that it's something everyone would naturally accept.
Oh,
What does
Frodo
it
and Sam
mean
Rise
to
were,
accept Christian values precisely?
hetero life mates.
Or Christian morality?
It means to aim up as hard as you can, no matter what happens to you.
Okay.
What? Cool. We're all Christians then. I don't care. You win. Whatever. Fucking whatever, Jordo. Fuck you. This is, Jordan, incredibly unhelpful. Christian morality isn't aiming high and persevering. He does something similar earlier when he claims that the core of being a Christian is self-sacrifice.
There's many things, but one of the most fundamental is that you believe that the cosmos itself is founded on the principle of voluntary self-sacrifice.
I'm saying, Moon.
But as a very patient woman points out to him, the core to being a Christian, the requirement to be a Christian, is to believe and accept that Jesus Christ is our Lord and Savior.
If you were a true
What do you
Christian,
mean by-
you would
No.
never be in
You
a
know what it
position
means.
to have to
Peterson
self-sacrifice.
brings up how Christian thought and ancient Greek thought
point of view,
have some
correct.
overlap. And the very patient woman asks him, okay, let's say someone
If you got
just
to that point,
happens
you're
to
so
have
steeped in
morals that
sin
overlap with Christianity.
that it doesn't matter
treating
anymore.
others as they wish to be treated, self-sacrifice, whatever. Is that person a Christian?
Pre-Christian philosophers, for example, and they noted the similarity, let's say, between pre-Christian Greek thought and later Christian thought, and presumed that there were moral actors outside the Christian domain.
Right.
They're
So is that
addressing
person
the
Christian,
same-
though?
Does that make that person a Christian? If someone has values that happen to overlap with Christian values, does that make a person Christian? His response may not surprise you.
Is that person Christian?
Well, to some degree, again, that's a matter of definition, because they
Exactly.
wouldn't.
Incredible
you,
restraint
it's a matter
from
of
her right
definition.
there. Exactly, she says,
Yeah, I probably
stone-faced,
would've lost my
fire in
shit.
her eyes, correctly. She also points out that by Peterson's definition, if we also ignore that he elsewhere defines God as conscience, God is what you prioritize or worship at the top or the bottom. She points out that many different people have many different values. So by his own rules, there are many, many gods.
Could there be that someone has a priority at their foundation that is different from
This
someone else?
Peterson's definition basically boiled down to
there's not one God, but
if you live a life that is generally good, you're a Christian.
We're never going to get an answer to that.
I feel like he would say yes to that, which is like the weirdest fucking definition of Christianity. It would just be like, oh, if you live your good life, you could just as well be like the best Muslim in the world, or the best Hindu, or the best Sikh, or
if you disregard everything else that he's saying along the way and just try to boil it down to something on that order, yeah, maybe you'll get an agreement out of him because he has a goal in setting up these definitions and these ideas. And unless you agree with the goal, he's going to semanticize the entire conversation.
By the way, I'm not trying to I'm not trying to give good faith version of Peterson's arguments to make sense of it. I'm actively trying to show how much of a bullshitter he is.
I mean, you're doing a fairly good job of it, but you would be able to get his ideas across far better than he is in any of this Jubilee showing.
Where's my medal of intellectuality?
Wait until you get on Joe Rogan.
I should start becoming an active proponent of weed, which I should be realistically. Like, I have weed every day.
I think Rogan will help you.
Maybe I need to go. Maybe I need to go full Alex Jones.
Never go full Alex Jones. You never come back.
Multiple gods, and these gods exist in some realm of truth. It's true that this person has one God and it exists.
The only way out is up.
Probably better to think about it as multiple values, but that there's a hierarchy of values with something at the bottom.
Right, but at the bottom is God, and
That's a definition, yeah.
That's a definition, yeah. Yours, Jordan. So there are multiple gods. Well, no, multiple values, but at the bottom is God. Well, that's a definition. It's just, he's a frustrating man. He has created this rhetorical prison for himself.
Diplomacy was never an option.
It's weird that this guy has like 5 definitions of God and seems to think that you can be categorized as a Christian without thinking that Jesus Christ is our Lord and Savior who died for our sins. But anyway, as I mentioned way before,
join the line,
whenever
bitch.
anyone brings up a negative aspect of Christian morality, Peterson simply says that the bad stuff doesn't count because he personally isn't interested in it.
Well, I can't explain the rapture to you because that isn't something I concern myself with, and that's more of a sectarian belief than something that's central to Christianity.
So in 1 Samuel 15:3, God says, go and slaughter the Amalekites, slaughter the men, the women, the children, the infants. What's the justification for that? Is that in line with Christian ethics?
That's a good question. I don't really know what to do with the terrible, blood-soaked, saturated history of the human past.
It's so slimy and obvious. Well, I don't concern myself with that really important part of the Bible. Well, I don't know what to do with the blood-soaked history of humanity. Well, we're not talking about that. We're talking about God demanding that blood-soaked history. It's like playing a board game with a dirtbag child who changes the rules, right? He says that atheists accept Christian morality and then excludes anything that makes that statement wrong. He refuses to say he's a Christian or define himself clearly, so he can just build a belief structure around whatever makes him seem correct. Failing that, he just completely halts the conversation by debating the meaning of a word. And even when we know that's what he's doing, we can't help it when the deviations are so juicy and stupid.
And then 400 years later, he commands the Israelites to genocide their great-great-great-great-great-great-grandchildren. That's not a just war at all. And also, a genocide is not a war.
Well, a genocide can be a war, but
absolutely not.
At least he didn't say defensive genocide.
What that other guy said. Holy shit, Jordan Peterson. And he's not the only person on the right to do this. Not justify genocide, although they also do that, but rather play this incredibly annoying word game. This is where we, thankfully, get to step away from this Jordan Peterson video. Because all of this weird semantics tangle, is very common for a lot of conservative debate types. Words in that industry are their tools, after all. And because they are liars, they have to use those tools very loosely. One of the easiest ways to do this is to constantly change how literal or broad they are being with the definition of words. And while we've been talking about the broad side, it's worth talking about the literal side.
Well, first of all, it's not a baby, it's a fetus.
Well, what does fetus mean?
A fetus is in utero.
What does fetus mean in Latin?
Oh, using Jubilee against Jubilee.
I'm sorry,
it means little human being.
Ooh, this
What?
smile is very creepy.
Oh, thank God, it's a clip of Charlie Kirk. Thanks for the palate cleanser.
Dude's like a Meat Canyon version of
this was
himself.
another viral clip, mainly because of that Babadook-ass smile he gives her. But putting that aside, as this lady clearly realizes, what does the Latin definition of fetus have to do with the science of what a fetus is? Even a child could figure out how stupid that is, right? The etymology of a word, while neat or interesting, isn't the end-all definition of what that word truly means, especially in modern language. It's just a name. It's just what we called something when we first realized it existed. Allosaurus means different or strange lizard. That doesn't mean it watched a bunch of obscure mumblecore films or did the Naruto run everywhere, right? It just means that some people found his bones and decided to bully him, I guess. Or her, you get it. Everyone understands what I'm saying, including Charlie Kirk. But because he didn't want to actually debate abortion, he had to make us debate words. Really old words. This definition game has to be the most pathetic and obvious tactic. And yes, of course, Jordan Peterson also does it.
Is sin like a part of Christian morality?
What do you mean exactly? Sin as
Like
a part?
the
It's missing
concept
the
of sin?
Okay,
Yeah.
it's derived from an archery term, and it means to miss the target.
Oh great, we're
What?
back with this video. We had a brief moment of air with Charlie Kirk, but here we are again.
Large quantities
Everyone
of
knows
what?
that sin doesn't mean to miss or whatever. It's a larger concept tied to a religious ideology and therefore has multiple definitions. He should understand this since up until this point, he's been nothing but loose with words. Genocide can mean war, but sin means this one thing only. But when he wants to be, Jordan Peterson will suddenly become extremely obtuse about how complex or polysemous words are interpreted. Here's a fun gem.
You know, we have Pride Month. Well, what are
This
we
is the point
celebrating?
where
First of
I
all,
basically start giving
how
up on
about we
life.
don't celebrate Pride? Pride's a cardinal sin.
And then they win, I
And
guess.
you might
Like
say,
that,
well,
that's the
they
point,
don't
right?
mean pride. They mean,
And
you
then
know,
they get to define what words
it's a
mean.
group
and
of
how we use
oppressed
them in
people, and now
society.
they're just finding their identity, and they're
It's
getting
like,
some
it
security.
gets tiring
in that
even
identity.
listening to someone trying to explain or even shitting on Jordan Peterson. Like, that's the level of post-truthism we're living in.
I mean, you're not wrong. It's only if you allow them to get away with it and actually give credence to them. And it's the amount of people that are giving credence to them that makes it the problem. Which is
Yeah,
why
it's not even that anyone's letting him get away with it. It's that his followers, just like people will call him out on that shit, but his followers are gonna continue, right?
Well, it's like when Spangler was in here earlier trying to say like, oh, you got to get the context of what he's saying to understand that, you know, he meant something specific, when even after getting the context, there's nothing specific. It's just a Mott and Bailey.
That's context and behind context, like this will like never end. If anything, in the pursuit of defining these simplistic words, you're gonna use even more complicated words, and the definitions are gonna get more complicated.
Bingo.
It's like you're starting out at the most basic level. Like things are only gonna get worse from here.
And
So
it's
you
like-
decide which direction do you want to go to. Do you want to go into the fucking semantic side, or actually something that might lead to some conclusion?
And when you
Although
ask
that
a
is unlikely as
question
well.
that he appreciates, he like tries to praise you. Oh, that's a good question. Like you're supposed to be proud of yourself at that point. No.
But that's a good question because I can I can answer it without like falling into a trap.
There it is.
That's what he means when he says it's a good question.
And then he falls into a trap anyway, and it's hilarious because it's like Wile E. Coyote drawing a tunnel on a freaking wall.
It's so bullshit, man. And I get like who we are talking about. Like we've all discussed this person, right? Like people like Metro. Like we've all met this fucking idiot who wants to get lost in the sauce. Like who actually doesn't have a purpose in life. As like no, this is exactly the type of person that they want to emulate. Like it's not a happenstance that this happens to be the case. It's by design. Like getting lost in semantics is what they actually want to do. There is no other purpose to it.
I mean, if there is one, I don't know what it is. Like you should be like the whole reason why we sit here and we define what we mean by words and terms in a conversation is to be able to be having the same conversation. But if you're going to constantly...
Right, if there's you start out like you try and explain, and if there's a mismatch in understanding, then you can, okay, this is what I actually meant when I used this word, like blah blah blah. When you start out by asking the meanings of extremely easily understandable words, like you've genuinely lost the plot.
Yeah, and that's the point. That's when you get to somebody giving an internal critique of a term that you're using for 2.5 hours.
Yeah, if I ask someone, would you be okay with if this were to happen? Their answer isn't, okay, what's the context behind it? Their question is, what do you mean by okay? Like, okay, they're probably like somewhat of the same question, but one is you're being more specific about what you need to in order to answer this question, whereas in the other, when you're asking what does it mean, what do you mean by okay, like you're asking me to basically look inside your head and figure out like what the different spectrum of like how do you value things, which is like, yeah, it's a useless concept. I'm not here to understand what you value. I'm here to show you the value in other things, right? Because you already know what you value. So me explaining it won't.
I think all their dark talking points is them going to the bottom of the dialogue wheel, but it's actually just villain shit entirely. I don't disagree. Because I believe there's an ultimate outcome that they're looking for and going through the dialogue wheel in that way. And the sooner you can glean what the objective is of why they're doing the thing that they're doing, the sooner it falls apart. And that's exactly what happened with our friend Jordan here.
I think, again, I might be sort of might be wrong on this one, but my assertion at this point is it's not the case that they want to understand other people's morality. I think all they want to do is assert their own morality.
Absolutely.
That's why you ask. That's why they will never ask, what do you think about it? They will always ask you to affirm or justify things from their point of view. Their line of argumentation would be, but can you see why I think like that? Instead of, hey, okay, now I see what you're trying to say.
They don't want to say why they think like that because we would probably find it abhorrent, and they don't want that.
Yeah, but my ultimate point is that for them it's a battle of justifying their stance and not a battle of understanding someone else.
No, I don't disagree. Back to the nonsense.
Identity. And so what they mean by pride is security in that identity. It's like
20 minutes left.
The word's pride.
Yeah, but do you mean sin as in missing the mark?
God,
because then
minutes.
How is that so
20
bad, Jordan?
minutes.
I thought sin
Which in
literally
Twitch
just
time
meant
is,
to miss
45.
something. Hey, Jordan, do you think maybe the whole point is that this group of people was made to hide and feel shame for who they are, and they might be now using the opposite word to point out
Well, that's
how
the
they're
thing
not
with
going
Jordan,
to be ashamed
he
for who they are anymore?
isn't
Like, you
indoctrinated. He's
explained it
using
to yourself out
the religion
loud.
as
Hey,
a
Jordan,
weapon without
you are
actually
proudly a
believing in
member
the
of a group
religion,
of people called the
which
intellectual
makes it even
dark
more
web.
despicable.
Are you okay with that? The dark web is where people do sinful crimes. How dare you, Jordan? Anyway, this is child shit. He's talking child shit. Like a child trying to debate their bedtime and then shitting. He thinks he can like wordplay something to be right. He is taking a complex topic and just dragging it down to the semantics of it, changing words to this extremely literal and singular interpretation, or changing them
not
to
everybody
completely
is aware of what
vague
they're
and
doing.
different meanings, depending on what
He is
point he
fully
wants
aware.
to make.
Andrew
And the
Wilson
ultimate
is fully
victory
aware.
is when he distracts you or completely tires you out. Like, I didn't mention this, but sin doesn't mean miss the mark. Or at least a lot of people don't think that. But who cares? It doesn't matter. This surrounded video doesn't matter. The world would
That's
be
true. It
exactly the
doesn't
same
matter.
if it didn't exist. And by the end of it, everyone is just tired and frustrated and saying exactly what I've been saying.
But the problem I see is if Jordan would have come out of this looking good, it would be horrendous for discourse going forward. Do you agree, Zephyr?
I don't see how anyone can look good coming out of this.
I'm saying if people would have been receptive to the ideas that he was putting forward, how many more clones using a similar dialogue tree and similar ideas would be born from this nonsense?
Yeah. I will side with Jordan Peters on this one. If we were in that situation, then we've already fucked up.
This is true. We would be so steeped in it, we would never find our way out of it.
We would be so steeped in missing the mark.
But we get memes out of it, so I'm going to take what we get and call it a minor win. And then find my next win when I moderate this debate on Dune.
I don't know why you're putting yourself through that, man. I'm going to be talking that the movies are good and that I don't care about the books.
It's going to be amazing.
Fine.
Back to it.
For your entertainment.
But
For
I
all of
do
our
feel like
entertainment.
he does a lot of, I guess, wordplay that can make it a little bit difficult and kind of just muddies the waters in regard to what we define as Christianity and atheism.
Right. So what was the point? It's empty content. It doesn't really instruct or intrigue when it comes to philosophical debates about religion or God, because it's not really about that. It's mostly a 90-minute video of people debating the interpretation of words, which I guess might interest someone curious about linguistics or what it feels like to have a stroke or the worst ways that liars lie. And while most people see how useless
there were
Jordan
adults
Peterson
in the room that
is, I
said,
really
"No,
need
sir,
everyone to
we can't
realize
nuke
that
the
this also
hurricane.
reflects
No,
on
sir,
these
we
surrounded
can't inject
videos.
bleach. It's
They
not gonna
released this video. And sure, they probably have some use in that
Imagine
they've
the
changed
amount
a
of
few people's
ledges
minds
we've had
along
to
the
talk
way.
him down off
They're
of.
definitely entertaining sometimes. They
Sam
create
Cedars was
hot-con
good.
reaction videos starring Cody, but they are ultimately a net loss in terms of progress or political discourse. And this video really shows that, because it shows how Surrounded is built for people like Jordan Peterson or Charlie Kirk. Liars, hucksters, not exclusively, but
I don't
mainly
feel
for
like this was built for Jordan Peterson. I feel like it was the ultimate way to ensnare Jordan Peterson. It was a Jordan Peterson trap. It was like a line of candy that led to a box with a stick.
I don't know. So, like when he does one-on-one debates with like a Matt Dillahunty or Sam Harris, like they run circles around him. When he does like a short 5-minute debate with 20 people, they run circles around him. Like, what is he actually good at? what form of communication or conversation is Jordan Peterson actually good at having at this point?
That's a good
Basically
question.
just looking at a camera and talking to himself?
I mean, when you look at the videos that he had with like Matt Dillahunty or with Sam Harris, he's able to get across his rhetorical style and interrupt them and interject certain ideas and form questions in the thinking. He still gets cooked because, I mean, they were kind of prepared for that. But in this, it highlights exactly where he fails. What to eat before taking benzos? No, if he'd have learned that lesson, he wouldn't have ended up in a coma.
Dark. Didn't expect that from you, Leafy.
I mean, it was a coma of his own.
You're a monster.
He asked for it. He paid for it. He went to another country for it. It's like me complaining that someone went to Mexico to get a BBL. Monologues with tears.
These types.
Like,
So after the
he's
break, we're gonna
basically like a
stop
church
talking
pastor
about
at this point. Like, he basically all he can do is provide sermons. But if anybody gets up and challenges him, his entire thing falls apart.
Yeah, he definitely does better if he's monologuing on his own.
No, it's not that he does better. It's just like anyone who's willing to sit through his monologue is probably already like bought into his cult or whatever the fuck.
More than likely. I don't know. I still think some things he does has value. This is not one of them.
No, this is valuable. Like, this is the most valuable thing he's done in ages.
Oh, jeez. That's brutal. See, you were saying I was being cruel.
Hey, I wasn't thankful that he got a coma, okay?
I didn't say I was thankful. I was just saying
I'm just gladful that his life is ruined after this. I'm just glad. Dude, he's gonna be. Do you remember fucking Milo Yiannopoulos? Like, he was selling fucking candles on Etsy, or like Etsy makers candles to like other churches at one point. Like, that is what I think Jordan Peterson might end up. Okay, he won't stoop to that level. Like, there's, for some reason, there's still people that fucking respect this fucking idiotic conversation. Like, I don't mind if you respect Jordan Peterson's original content. Like, sure, there's like some things in there that are actually worth discussing. If you have any ounce of respect for Jordan Peterson for this debate, or be after this debate, like, genuinely, I'd like to hear from you. Like, what value has Jordan Peterson provided, during or beyond this debate?
I mean, we haven't gotten anything from him since he crawled back into the lobster cage and has not said a word since.
Exactly, like, he's just reeling from it.
Like, virtually every online atheist snatched a hold of this video and proceeded to rip him apart, and I've not heard him rebut a single person yet.
Oh, dude, there's this channel called Charisma on Command.
Mm-hmm.
Basically trying to teach guys how to interact with society and whatnot, and they use like things like this, like debates and certain viral videos to show like, why did this person come across better than this person, things like that. Like, they don't actually challenge you on like the morality of it, like which side is right. They just show you why he sounded more convincing than the other side, like the words that they use, the sort of speech patterns and all that shit, right? And you go 4 years ago, when during the Kathy Newman interview or whatever the fuck, right? Dude, he basically made a year's worth of content just from that one interview. And he's like, this is why Jordan Peterson come across as so smart. This is why Jordan Peterson is so good. This is why Jordan Peterson is great. Like, after this video, bro has made another year's worth of content about why Jordan Peterson is failing. Why Jordan Peterson sounds so dumb now.
Yeah, age like fine milk at the end of the day. Oh, that's brutal. Yeah, Charisma on Command was pretty dope when I saw a few, but then it was like seeing them big up Russell Brand in those videos, I was just like, no, I'm not buying this. But it is entertaining. I say just watch, what's his name? Craig Kilborn? What was that dude's name? The guy that was on the Drew Carey show that played his boss. Craig Ferguson, I think it was. That dude is great to watch to learn social skills.
Is it fair to say that Jordan Peterson probably looks at everyone as like having the intellectual capacity of a child, and that he has to give vague answers on purpose as if to teach everyone a life lesson or some shit?
Well, I mean, he definitely.
Or do you think I'm reading too much into it?
No, I don't think you were. That's kind of the way he reacts when somebody gives him an answer he doesn't like. He's basically chastises him like he's the adult in the room and tells them they're out of line and puts on his stern voice. And I wouldn't have been shocked if he just, puts a finger out. Like, he's definitely trying to establish that level of authority, and it's really stupid. But yeah, Ferguson clips are great. Transphobic Yoda. That is a new one. I've just been calling him Kermit the Peterson. Yes, transphobic Yoda fans.
Video, phew, and talk about why we're talking about this video. All right, well, goodbye for like a few minutes. Every once in a while, the team here at the Shody requires me to shave my beard to play some character,
wrap it up,
like Cody from 15 years ago, Cumberbatch Cody.
It's an ad.
It's an ad.
So we got. You want to do the last 10 minutes? Or you want to leave it alone?
Okay.
Let's do it.
Done.
I mean, if you want to put it at 2x, I wouldn't mind.
I'm not going to recap because you just watch it yourself. It's time to take this one video of Jordan Peterson, the weird liar, lying about his beliefs by playing word games, and zoom out to the entire right-wing movement. The phrase I'm going to use to broadly describe this tactic is tangential logic. They're using tangential points to meander off the subject, often trying to embed themselves in these digressions in order to change the argument, or at times, reality itself. It doesn't just have to be wordplay, mind you. For example, here's a very good and funny example of one of these ghouls trying to bog down a conversation with logic and then failing.
But I'll tell you something you're not going to want to hear, and I admit it's occultish. Utilitarianism is typically the villain in most movies. I don't care.
I don't care. And yeah, that really should have been what most people said to Jordan Peterson in that video, because the points he was making were tangential to the larger debate.
Did you see the 1v20 that Sam Cedar did?
No.
So there was a white Christian nationalist girl that basically ran all the white Christian nationalist points, and he's just like, you know what? I can't have a conversation with you. This is a waste of my time. Carry on with your day. That was actually brilliant. Because then she's not allowed to get forward the crazy talking points she wants to get forward. At the same time, he's not rebutting her, but he's letting it be known like this is an abhorrent ideology that you're putting out here, and we are not going to find any level of agreement. Oh, Doc, that would be
while I admire
crazy.
That while I would admire that form of like debate tactic, I guess, for lack of a better term, I don't know how it rubs off on these MAGA-tards.
I don't think most of them even agree with her. I think there's a decent level of intersection, but not to that degree. And I don't think it would have been helpful either way. Like, you're not going to convince them otherwise. They're going to come out thinking she ended up winning and stomp Sam Cedar. So, like, I think what you stand to lose versus what you stand to gain in entertaining that conversation is not worth it.
I think it's worthwhile every now and then revisiting why white nationalism or Christian nationalism like are actually bad. Like, I think like obviously we're at a point where we say, oh, if I can just showcase this person as a white Christian nationalist, right, then automatically people are gonna start looking at them weirdly. But I also think that now there is like a group of people who actually have lost the reasons for why white Christian nationalism is bad. And then like if you keep ignoring these or like just being like, oh, I don't think we have anything to discuss, I think then you basically start to like that sort of sentiment starts bubbling up again. Like, oh, nobody's actually challenging us. Nobody's actually just showing us why we were wrong. So you know what? We're going to move ahead with it.
I think you can just immediately address why it's wrong and leave it at that rather than letting them throw out all the obfuscations as to...
I just to clarify, I don't think that was the best forum for it, but I do think that right now, like there is like some gap in the sort of culture for why certain things are bad. Like, you know, at one point we had to show why Nazis were bad. Like there was a time, I remember this, like 5 to 8 years ago, where everybody was saying, oh, you're just using the word Nazi and has lost all meaning and all that shit. Like basically people had to teach society why Nazis were actually bad and why this term shouldn't be taken lightly. And now I think the word Nazi is actually gaining some like actual moral weight again. I think the same thing has to be done with the terms white nationalism and all that.
I don't disagree, but at the same time, we allowed that to happen. And
yeah, I mean, again, society is like dynamic.
Well, we can easily point out in a conversation why it doesn't apply, but to say that word has lost all meaning is kind of how we got here, because we allowed them to think these words lost that meaning.
Sure, but like what my claim is, like, we cannot foresee, like, society is dynamic. We have to make tiny adjustments as we're going along. Like overusing a word losing its meaning is, I would say, it's like normal part of society. Sure, if you can continuously use a word and sort of not make it lose its weight, that would be ideal. But if it does happen sometimes, which like it did with the word Nazi, and in my opinion is happening the word white nationalist, I think it's occasionally just sort of reeling back and sort of realigning yourself as to, okay, why these things are bad can also be beneficial.
Nazi.
But what happened?
I mean, you're not wrong.
Like, don't like, sometimes people don't realize there are like Latinos who are white nationalists.
Nur weil ich in der NSDAP und in der SS bin.
There are black people who are white nationalists. There are actually like there are people who are that.
Aber was sollen sie denn sonst sein?
Ich bin vielleicht ein besorgter Bürger, der Angst vor Überfremdung hat. Aber ich bin nicht rechts. Und ich bin erst recht kein Nazi. Hey, Sie da? Sehe ich etwa wie ein Nazi aus?
Nö, würde ich jetzt nicht sagen.
Na, sehen Sie?
Because we sat there and argued whether or not Elon was giving
Nazis, lauter Nazis. Wenn einem die Argumente
to allow them to
dann
obfuscate
holt man
the
schnell
realities
mal
in front of
die
us.
gute alte Nazi-Keule raus.
Das hat doch nichts mit Nazi-Keule zu tun.
Sie machen sich das Leben sehr einfach.
I think we get the point. Oh, that is exactly appropriate to it. Like, not calling something what it is because people say the word has lost meaning, when you can clearly outline what you mean by that. It's reference point, the whole deal. Like, sorry, Doc. I apologize. We got to get through this. I'll play it again afterward.
So it's not just about wordplay, but it's mostly about wordplay. Because I would argue that the right-wing attack on words is one of the more powerful and devastating tactics.
The attack on
just
words.
look at the word woke or DEI or groomer. Those words used to mean specific
by the way,
things
just
until
on
conservatives stole
that
them
statement
and gave
about
them new
Nazi losing its meaning and now it's sort of gaining some of its meaning back, I do think it had a lot to do with October 7th. For why Nazi became a bad word again.
No comment.
And broad definitions that evoke emotional responses in their base. And at first, people might try to point this out. The first argument is usually people trying to reclaim these words back to their original meaning. But eventually, everyone just gives up. People start saying woke, ironically, mocking the right, until they are just saying it. For example, the word cuck. That was originally a word exclusively being used by, well, cucks and right-wingers, often as a
literally
broad
we're
insult
having
to
this
the confusion of
conversation
others.
and it's in
Because
the
who cares if
video.
you're a cuck? You want to watch me bang your spouse? Sure. It's not free, but sure. But over time, everyone started using it ironically, then just using it until the Democratic Party's Twitter account is essentially calling Stephen Miller a cuck, all because he really likes being cucked by Elon Musk. Leave the poor cuck Stephen Miller the cuck alone, guys! While it can be harmless, it's often not. More often, it's quite bad. For example, they are now scrubbing all mention of DEI from the government. And just like Jordan Peterson, they are doing this very obtusely. The words equity and inclusion, for example, mean multiple things. But since they are just broadly going after the words, various financial forms that have nothing to do with DEI are being deleted. Even when it is technically DEI, that phrase meant something different when it was first enacted, right? That's why stuff like veteran support groups are also getting purged in Trump's anti-woke crusade. Don't get me wrong, I don't think any of this should be purged, but I doubt that people who think they're against DEI intended to do that. But the fact remains that DEI existed and helped a whole lot of people, including Trump's current vice president, before Trump showed up and decided it meant something bad and broad and different. Again, they're waging a war on the words themselves and not really the complex meaning behind them. And of course, Trump is the king of all of this. The word salads, the vagueness, everything Peterson does, Trump does better. The mob-like, indirect way he speaks has made it so anyone can interpret him in any way they need. Here's just one of a million examples.
But what kind of realistic change is that? Do you think you can provide single parents, married parents, any kind of parent, to just simply afford children in today's world with the way things are?
Right? It is not fair.
No.
And what we're going to do, and I'm going to, because I understand exactly what you're saying, we're going to readjust things so that it's fair to everybody, because it's really not fair to everybody. But we have a lot, and we're going up higher, but we're also going to readjust because you have to make some readjustments. It's unfair to some people, and we're not going to have that.
So he's referring to child tax credits, and the exact quote is, we're going to readjust things so that it's fair to everybody, because it's really not fair to everybody. But we have a lot, we're going up higher, but we're also going to readjust, because you have to make some readjustments. It's unfair to some people, and we're not going to have that. That's from a Fox News clip with the headline, Trump vows to ease childcare cost burden for struggling parents. But
we need to normalize Trump quotes.
Did he say anything close to that? What did he even say? Notice how he keeps saying it's not fair to some people. Which people? How are you going to readjust? How is that a clear policy laid out? I don't have to convince you that Trump doesn't make much sense when he speaks, but I wanted to stress that you could interpret him in so many ways, depending on which people you think he's talking about. And ultimately, we now know what he meant. The child tax credits he proposes will go up by $500, but will also exclude millions of children who would otherwise legally be eligible. His party is also trying to cut food stamps and Medicaid, so that extra $500 doesn't really mean much. He couldn't say that to that lady asking a question, so he just speaks in that vague, indirect way people like him and Jordan Peterson love to do. Due process? Well, I don't know anything about that. You'll have to ask my lawyer. I'm the president. You know, a lot of people are saying that I should get a third term. You mad, bro? I was just being sarcastic.
A lot of
even
people
though I
are
clearly
saying
wasn't. This is often talked
I
about
was
in
getting
relation
into
to the
that
insane
earlier
washing
today.
of Trump, where he'll spit out a bramble of words, and then the media will find a way to interpret it to
A
sound
lot of
sensible
people are
and competent,
saying,
or say he's trolling when he makes direct threats. There's another type of
Mom
group that
Donnie
speaks
isn't
this
a
way
citizen,
that I want to
like,
shout
bro.
out, which might be obvious to you. It's cults. Cults
It's pretty
speak this
clear
way.
what he's
There's a
saying.
book about it, probably multiple books, but the author of that book, a linguist who happens to have a family history with cults, talks about the difference between something like scientific jargon and cult speak. To quote her directly, my parents, they're scientists, and they will use jargon that I don't understand, but that jargon is there to make communication clearer. Cultish language has these ulterior motives, and it's there to make communication hazier. It's there to divide people, to shut down independent thinking. And that's how you know that language is cultish, when it causes strong emotional response, but you yourself have trouble translating what it is that you're saying. So going back to Peterson and Trump, that's exactly how they're speaking, isn't it? They're making the conversation hazier, not clearer. Well, what do you mean by God? What do you mean by believe? What do you mean by mean? What do you mean by what? And the right wing's broad use of words like woke and DEI and groomer also make things much hazier while dividing groups and causing that strong emotional response. Less clarity, more emotion.
And every time you
a
ask them
war
to
of
explain
words
it,
in a
it
war
becomes
on words, stretching them, twisting them, bopping them, pulling them, swapping from ultra-literal to vague to metaphors, finding weird logic loopholes to change the reality of the words themselves. You know, lying. And of course, there's another group of people that speak this way that I also need to shout out, which may once again be obvious to you. Fascists. The language of dystopias. We are now seeing that in play as we speak and as they news speak. J.D. Vance literally said he makes up stories. Recently, he said, we're not going to war with Iran, we're at war with their nuclear facilities. Well, I'm not at war with God, I'm at war with the voice of God. It's just a bunch of word games with the faux air of intellectualism to justify their project of brutality and might makes right. The Trump administration has been utilizing something called legalistic non-compliance to get around the many court cases against it. Basically playing legal word games so that they can break the law while pretending they aren't. Acting as obtuse as possible about the orders when everyone knows the meaning. And unless someone stops them, they certainly won't stop there. When the Constitution says that no person shall be elected to the office of the president more than twice, we all know what that means. It's obvious. Except if the right asshole were to try and pick all the words apart, they might be able to find a way for Trump to serve a third term, even though everyone knows that's not how it works. We all know. But to
like
quote
we're
a
not
constitutional law
expecting it.
professor, a president who's interested in remaining in power, despite limits against it, will come up with clever legal arguments to do so. So, will Trump be able to violate the law and remain in office indefinitely? Only if the American people let him. That really resonates
There it
all the way
is.
to the Jordan
Only if we
Peterson
let
stuff.
them.
You can either let him bog you down with a debate about semantics, or you can just say,
I don't care.
right. From a debate about religion all the way to the fucking Constitution, there need to be moments when you simply just
Leafy,
say,
I have a question.
fuck off. You know what these words mean. Because if you
When these right-wing tards ask the meaning of obvious words, do you think it's better to indulge them and actually like tell them the meaning and be like good, quote unquote good faith, or is it better to be like, we know what it means, you know what it means, stop playing word games, otherwise remove yourself from this conversation?
That depends. Like if you're really like if you're nailing down what's being talked about in the very beginning.
No, okay, so when they say, what does the word facilitate mean when it comes to the Abrego Garcia
yeah,
case?
you know what they're doing at that point. We all know
So
what the
basically
court
tell them,
means.
right, either follow along with the conversation or remove yourself. Like, we're not playing word games around facilitate.
Right. Sorry, Despy. I'm
like we're here
right now. I can't check the side chat, but I can actually see what you're saying through my game, oddly enough.
Is Robo Despy talking?
No, he's not doing Robo Despy right now. But yeah, they're basically trying to get around the moral implications of what's being done in the instance the law is being abused. So the fact that they're playing the same word game that the administration is means they're giving tacit agreement with what's being done, but they don't want to look like assholes while they do it. And saying there's wiggle room in the language when there obviously isn't. Like, just admit that you're cool with what they're doing and stop acting like there's some gray area going on here.
Right. And I personally hate how there's like vagary or vague language in every single thing, but they will only argue when it like favors them to argue that aspect. Like, for example, the Supreme Court's recent ruling, there's tons of words that could be vaguely interpreted. But because Trump is profiting from these rulings, like nobody's questioned the vagueness of those terms.
Yeah, when it's advantageous for them, they don't quibble over words. They say, you know what I mean.
Right.
But then when it's something they want to walk around, step around, dance around, then all of a sudden, hey, what do these words mean?
Yeah.
You just can't allow it.
I'm glad we did, because it is tiring, but I was willing to make that effort if other people believe that it would actually help. Like, people see the light and actually reorient themselves. Yeah, but if it's not going to help, then why am I going to bother with it?
No, they're being purposely obtuse.
Right.
All right, back to it.
You don't. If you get drawn into these faux philosophical or linguistic or quote-unquote high-minded debates and let them do these Mad Hatter word games, then eventually the words lose meaning. And as we're being reminded more and more, that matters. Because laws are also just words. Policy, just words. Our world is words. It's how we agree on reality. And it's not our job to accommodate everyone's incorrect or purposefully manipulative interpretation of that. Unless we're the Supreme Court. In that case, well, that's our only job now.
Oh, yeah,
Gotta get that
TTS
private jet
doesn't
ride
work
after
in
all.
here.
What are we gonna do? Not go on a jet? You know how cool jets are? They go whoosh, guys. They can go whoosh. Anyway, Jordan Peterson, words. Did I pass out earlier? Is that why I peed myself? Happy Beard Day, America, and Pride. Happy Pride Month. And I do mean July and the sin. July is the sin month, I've decided. Not like last month, which wasn't the sin version of Pride. But you know that because we can infer how words work. Unlike Jordan Peterson and the Supreme Court.
There it is. All right, y'all. We made it through. I think it was productive, helpful, brutal throughout most of it for our intelligence being insulted. But yeah, I mean, it can be multiple Pride months. There's nothing wrong with that. So I'm going to go ahead and raid out at this point. Who do we raid into today? Who's chilling right now? Let's raid into Reservoir, because it for sure ain't gonna be Rob Noor. And I have thoroughly enjoyed hanging out with all of you. As always, chat is the true winner. I have had a blast. I hope you guys had fun. And Kermit the Peterson is truly a dizzying intellect. Have a nice night, y'all. Oh, gotta finish I already hit the raid. I'm sorry, Doc. You should have said something a second ago. I'll send you the link. Peace.